Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to take a moment and remember one of our colleagues, Councilmember Frank Reddick, who served on City Council. He was actually appointed at the beginning, and then he was elected in 2011 and then re-elected without opposition in 2015, served until 2019, and he was chairman of this City Council. He passed away right before Christmas. His funeral homegoing services were last week. I know Councilmember Miranda served with him, Councilmember Vieira served with him, I served with Councilmember Reddick. He was a wonderful friend, great community leader, community asset, and I just wanted to remember him and offer my condolences to his family. All right.
Thank you for that, Clinton.
All right, at this time I'd also like to welcome our invocation. Our guest today is Jason Soul, founder and CEO of Current Initiatives. He's a chaplain with the Tampa Police Department. Jason has worked in pastoral ministry in the nonprofit sector in Tampa for more than 20 years as a church pastor, law enforcement chaplain, and nonprofit founder. He has led his Tampa-based nonprofit organization, Current Initiatives, since 2008 with the mission of dealing hope to local communities through the Laundry Project, Hope for Homes Project, and affordable Christmas initiatives. He has also been serving as a chaplain with the Tampa Police Department since 2016. Jason, if you're here, come on up and please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Council. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this great city that we get to be a part of. God, as we think for a moment on former Councilman Reddick, we thank you for his service, for his example of leadership in our city. We ask that you would bring peace and comfort to his family and those that were close to him and around him. And may his memory linger with us and as an example of leadership and leading this city well. Thank you for this council. Thank you for our law enforcement leaders. Thank you for our mayor and the staff and all involved in making this city as great as it can be. And as we look to the future, may we have wisdom as we guide this city into the future. And may we be a shining example to those around us, to other cities, of what community looks like, of what positive change in a city looks like. And may we honor you in all of our decisions as we move forward into the future. Give wisdom and peace during this council meeting today. We thank you for loving us for who we are. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Carlson. Hertug. Here. Clendenin.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Vieira. Here. Miranda. Here. Maniscalco.
Here.
We have physical quorum.
All right, I have a memo received from Councilmember Carlson that he will be absent from today's meeting. Mr. Shelby, if you'd like to go over the rules and procedures of public comment at this time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Good morning to members of the public. I'd like to very briefly review the City Council rules of decorum for the conduct of today's meeting. Members of the public are allowed a reasonable opportunity during general public comment to address City Council on any item on the agenda before City Council takes official action on the item. If you wish to speak during general public comment, please fill out a speaker card and place it in the box that is outside this room. One card per speaker. Cards will be accepted until the start of general public comment. Each person submitting a card will be recognized by name to approach and speak. A 3-minute time limit applies. Please print legibly. Names that cannot be read will not be called. And if you're here to speak at a public hearing, which is designated as a public hearing on the agenda, you will have that opportunity when the public hearing is called up by the number on the agenda. And to speak then, don't fill out a card. Please use the sign-in sheet at the podium outside instead. If you need assistance, please see city staff. And speakers and members of the public are also reminded that they are to refrain from disruptive behavior, including making vulgar or threatening remarks or making or causing disruptive noises or sounds or displaying signs or graphics. And speakers are also reminded to refrain from launching personal attacks against any city official, staff member, or any member of the public. And persons failing to comply with council's rules may be ruled out of order and at the discretion of the chair may be removed from the chambers for the remainder of today's meeting. And finally, a reminder to City Council that City Council members should refrain from engaging a speaker during public comment. And members of the public, please be aware that the City Council does not take questions or have a dialogue during general public comment. This is your opportunity to express your position to City Council. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes from December 19, 2024? Motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. All right, I'm going to go through the agenda. We have a walk-on item, and I know about walk-ons, but this is something that it's regarding a hold harmless agreement. It has nothing to do with funds or any expenditures. We will take that up after item number 3. So just wanted to bring that up. I have a memo received from Councilmember Vieira that item number 29 be pulled for discussion, and it'll be heard first under staff reports. Yes?
I'm requesting that we do that after lunch, if possible, because we just got a letter from the Forest Hills Neighborhood Association. I haven't had a chance to fully read it yet. Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to move that
Thank
quick
you.
to the...
Well, you never
Yeah.
know, so that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to ask.
Someone said we'd be done by lunch, but I said no.
29.
29.
Yeah. No, that's fine. More than likely. So let me go through the staff reports real quick. So item 29 is going to be pulled and placed first under staff reports and as requested after lunch, which is more than likely going to happen. So item number 55 is a $12 million item. Do we need staff present for that? No? Okay. Item 56, there's a written report for that. Do you need somebody here for that?
Yes, virtually is fine.
Yes, virtually, okay. Item 57,
Oh, no, we're good.
okay, I spoke offline to staff about this, and they were gonna get me more information regarding increasing the number
76, yeah.
for 57.
50.
This
Yeah, but
is
the
summer youth,
number of it,
to double it. but-
yeah, to double it to 76.
Yep, so, all right. Item 57 is a no, so item number 58.
Yes,
It's being continued.
It does say continue, doesn't it say?
That's a
As part of the.
addendum.
Okay, so we have a continuance to what date?
February 6th.
February 6th for item 58. Okay, I don't have it in front of me. Do we have a motion to continue?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, that requires, if we take a look at the calendar,
We have to, we have a lot of staff reports, and we need to waive the rules to add that on there.
what, February 6th?
Yeah, February 6th is full, so this would,
well, actually, so this is 58, he actually requested April 3rd, right?
No, he actually
No,
requested,
Okay, you're right, I'm sorry.
the next quarterly update was going to be held on April 3rd, and Councilmember Carlson is requesting February 6th.
all right.
So just if there's a motion to
Do
waive
you
the
want to waive the
rules.
rules?
Well, we
Supermajority.
even have up there that we're limiting to 5 staff reports, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So how about we pick another date? Let's pick, how about February 20? February 20th?
3, 4, 5. It has 7.
Yeah, that's a lot
Okay.
now, too.
We're gonna push this.
How about
back.
we do a written report on the 6th, and if we need a,
All right,
uh,
all right, let's
If you do-
continue.
Second.
if you do a written report, just a reminder of council's rules, if you do a written report, you cannot have staff appear that day.
yes, but they're coming on April 3rd anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
Coming
that's
on
fine.
April 3rd.
Yeah. All right, so we'll continue item 58 to a written report for February 6th. We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Again, that
okay.
date was, I'm sorry.
February 6th,
Sixth.
written report.
Okay, written.
All right, item number 59.
I'm requesting to continue this until January 3rd so that Ms. Feely can include information on their,
23rd.
oh, yeah, I'm sorry, did I say?
Yeah, and we need to waive the rules because we have a limit on that date.
Oh, okay. Well, the only reason is because tomorrow she's meeting with the the commission, the folks who are volunteering to work with it. So we decided that January 23rd would be better, and I apologize, I did not look at
Just a
that.
reminder, Councilwoman, Abby Feely is going to be appearing on the same item on February 6th, or something similar topic.
Do you want to blend it in?
No, but how about this? I will pause, I will wait to move this item until the end of session today, so I'll have a better date. How's that?
All right, so we'll hold 59 and let me know at the end
Yeah.
of the date. how
Okay.
it will- Okay, item number 60, Mr. B-Day will be here. For 60, that's a yes. Councilmember Vieira, do you need staff present for 61?
Oh, yes, yes, so 60, really 61 and 62 are gonna be together. Yeah, and 63, my understanding is, that's already being waived, but if they wanna address that as well, that's fine. So yeah, all three of these can be at once.
Okay.
With
so-
62 is gonna provide the bulk of the time, I think, but yeah.
So 61, 2, and 3 is going to be yes, and they're going to be. All heard together. Yeah, all heard together, so yes. Item 64 will not be heard. It will be on the March 27, 2025 agenda, so we can get a motion for that. Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor? Aye. And then for the written staff report, 65, 6, and 7, can I get a motion to receive and file? Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any-
And just to let folks know, we will be having a conversation about sidewalks in, I believe it's March, or at the end of February in the workshop. So this is not the last time we'll be discussing sidewalks.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum? Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Police Officer of the Month. Councilmember Vieira.
How you doing?
Council, it's my great pleasure to be here today for Officer Leonardo Nemo, who's here as our Tampa Police Officer of the Month for January of 2025. Today, January 9th, is actually Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, so I'm actually glad that we're doing this today. I know that some of our friends, I was communicating with Cindy Roberts, the widow of the late Corporal Mike Roberts, who works with cops, concerns of police survivors, and I know they're going to be going visiting some police stations today for Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, them and the other members of cops. So we're here for this, for Officer Nemo here today. Like I always say, we always do this to reflect the values of the community that we serve in supporting law enforcement, as well as with our firefighter of the quarter, our firefighters. And I'll let Dr. Chief Burkow come and speak about this gentleman. Sir, thank you.
Morning, Council. It is my honor to present our Officer of the Month, and we are proud to announce Officer Leonardo Nemo as our Officer of the Month for January. And he's a veteran law enforcement officer with over 20 years of experience, including service with the NYPD. Officer Nemo consistently demonstrates exceptional dedication, and he takes a proactive approach to serving the Tampa community. So he's known for his tireless work ethic and his keen investigative skills, and he excels in self-initiated activity. Just in the past year, he has handled over 3,000 calls for service, and 3/4 of those have all been self-initiated. That approach has resulted in numerous arrests relating to narcotic offenses, burglaries, loitering and prowling, all to make our community safer. So beyond arrests that he makes, he also takes a tireless approach in our community policing. He addresses quality of life issues. He patrols the Nebraska corridor and makes a huge difference there by building strong relationships with the businesses and residents there. Some of his notable arrests are a suspect that was involved in metal theft back in October, another one that had stolen a leaf blower, who was actually a convicted felon, and then you all know that we have juveniles that like to break into cars. In that same month, he was able to identify and arrest 3 juveniles who attempted to burglarize vehicles on October 28th. And he also arrested an individual for burglarizing a vehicle on November 5th. This is all while being a patrol officer and answering calls for service. That type of proactivity is not common when somebody's answering calls for service. So because of all these successes, along with his dedication to duty, his community and safety, this is truly why we are recognizing him as our Officer of the Month, and we are very proud to have you on our team and no longer with the NYPD.
So, Officer, before we give you the plaque, sir, I know there's members of the community who are here who would like to honor you, sir. So, I'm starting. There we go.
Morning, Council. Brandon Barclay, Tampa PBA. Officer Nemo, this plaque's for you for a job well done. Good job.
Good morning, Council. Good morning. Grace Gonzalez. I'm here on behalf of the Gonsmart family and the 1905 family of restaurants. Thank you so much for choosing Tampa and choosing to be here. We want to give you this gift card to enjoy at any of our restaurants across the state of Florida. Please come to the Columbia, enjoy a flamenco show, have fun at Eulalie. Thank you so much for everything you do. Congratulations.
Good morning. My name is Mary Lou Bailey, and I'm here on behalf of Zoo Tampa. I serve on the board there. I really appreciated your story. Thank you to everyone who serves. We love you guys. We're presenting you with a little basket you could share. This is a Baby O copy. We just had a Baby O copy at the zoo, which is quite a few. They're endangered and all that good stuff. Part of our core mission. And an annual pass to the zoo to enjoy with your family. So it also includes some adult activities in the evening, like Christmas in the Wild and things like that. So anyway, enjoy it in good health, and thank you for your service. Congratulations.
Good morning. I'm Mary Dillon. I represent the Strass Center for the Performing Arts. Thank you so much for your service, and I'm glad Tampa Bay is the recipient of your work instead of New York City. On behalf of the Strass, we received 2 tickets to see a show at the Strass Center, and please enjoy. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Good morning, and congratulations, Officer Nemo. I'm Lori Osborne, and I'm with the Florida Orchestra. And on behalf of the Florida Orchestra, we thank you and appreciate your hard work and dedication to keeping our community safer. We'd like to invite you and your family to a performance this season, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Happy New Year. You guys look great in those hats, though. But, thank you. Chief, first and foremost, and Officer Nemo, thank you got a hat for that. Thank you for your service. Thank you all for Officer, it should be every day. But your story is impeccable. Welcome to Tampa, and get out of that cold weather. We got it here, but we have a little tradition at $1, and anybody that goes over and above gets a game ball. And hearing your story, you definitely go over and above. So due to timing, we don't have that game ball, but I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to give you my card. And what I'd like to do, this is just a temporary one. You're going to have one with your name on it. So you reach out to me, and we'll set up a tour at $1, and we can exchange balls. So you can keep that. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your service, your family sacrifice. And that's who I am. And you reach me out, so we'll exchange that ball with a good one. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your service.
Good morning, Council. I'm Jill Witecki with Tampa Theater. We appreciate what you do, and on behalf of our team, we'd like to present you with the membership to our historic movie palace theater for next year.
Good morning, Council. Leo Gary, Jason Binder. On behalf of Bill Curry Ford, we want to say congratulations on winning this award. It means so much to us. I appreciate each and every one of you guys that puts that uniform on every single day, that make a sacrifice for all of us here in this room. And on behalf of Bill Curry Ford, I want to present to you a letter from Jennifer Curry herself for the gift card. And there's some other things in here as well. Gifts are going to get for your personal vehicle. Thank you. Congratulations again.
Welcome to Tampa.
When you come up and present, face us, because the microphone, we can barely hear what people are saying, so, yeah.
Good morning. Just like you. Same barber. Good morning, Council. Pete Brevy on behalf of Busch Gardens, and as I say every month, thank you for your continued support of law enforcement and what they represent. It's well appreciated by the men and women that put the uniform on. And to you, sir, you have a great bio, and I actually have the pleasure to work with one of your counterparts from...
I worked with Ken.
I know, and all he talks incessantly is, one of my captains at Busch Gardens was a former colleague of his in New York, and all he talks about is how high energy he was, and all the things that the chief talked about today are what he did in New York as well. We're glad he's here. He brought the cold weather, but we can get rid of that shortly. But on behalf of Busch Gardens and our staff, I'd like to thank you, and there's 4 tickets to Busch Gardens. Ken could have got you in for free too, but if there's anything we can do for you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Tell Ken.
I will.
Good morning, I'm John Wells with Steps Towing, and on behalf of Todd Stepp and Steps Towing, we'd like to thank you. And thank you for your service.
Good morning. Thank you for your service. I'm Laura Taylor from Casper's Company in Oxford Commons.
please come enjoy brunch for 4 at any one of our restaurants.
I'm at the end of the line.
It's always the best.
But I have good stuff here. Very good stuff. Steve Michelini, I'm here on behalf of a couple of different folks who'd like to honor you for your dedication to service. One of them is the Yummy House China Bistro. The second one is the Chicho Restaurant Group, the Daily Eats and Water and Flour, and they have a couple of places on Howard. Bella Brava, which is over in the Midtown section, and the Meat Market, which is in Old Hyde Park, and Somi Greek Restaurant. So you have your choice. Please take these certificates. The letters serve as a certificate for some of them, but these you have to take with you. So don't lose them.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
And so, here you go, sir, if you don't mind. So, sir, on behalf of a grateful city of Tampa and Tampa City Council, it's our great pleasure to honor you, sir, as our January 2025 Officer of the Month. Here you go, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And if you'd like to address City Council, you may.
I've been a crime fighter as long as I can remember, and I do it because I love the job. And I'm sorry, I get a little emotional because it's been a rough couple weeks, but I will try and continue to do, the job that I've always loved, and it's great to be recognized for something that you love and you're passionate about, so thank you all.
I just want to say thank you, and I've said this before, police officers, all of them, have 100th of a second to make a decision, yay or nay. That's real quick. And you always have to be right. That's the most difficult part of the job, is that making that instant decision whether I do or don't do something. And in your case, you're trained not only in New York, but in Tampa. The people in New York and the people of Tampa always need a respect of the police department respect of the people. And what your job is and what you've done is an extraordinary job, not only catching the individuals, but constantly doing it day in and day out. And like you said, you get emotional, because it is an emotional job. It's emotional to yourself, to your family, to the people you serve in the city of Tampa, and that gratitude can never be said thank you so many times so often. And you look like you can play a little flanker maybe for the Buccaneers. They got a good quarterback, so I think you can hide behind the big guys and nobody will see you score. So forward there, I think you'll give you a contract for about 15 seconds until you fumble. But it's a tough game, and life is a tough game. And with your constant reminder of doing the right job, it makes the citizens of the city of Tampa feel a little bit more at ease. Thank you very much for your job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you for the sacrifice you make when you put that uniform on, and thank you to your family for the sacrifice that they make, because you're going out and doing the work that you do. You and I were actually out there talking, and I realized I know Michaela here for quite a while, and I've always heard about you, and she's very, very proud of you. So congratulations, well-deserved. Welcome to Tampa. We're glad to have you as part of the TPD family here. So enjoy all the goodies there.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Michaela is my older daughter. I have a younger daughter too, so she surprised me this morning.
Congratulations.
I'm a crier, man. Trust me. I cry.
Sorry.
All the time.
I can't help it. Sorry.
Thank you very much, sir. Congratulations. All right, there was a motion to remove item number 2 from the agenda. We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll just take a moment and then we'll go into public comment. See you later. See you later.
Champions. Division champions. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Put them in pads, you'll run the wrong way.
That's probably true.
Happy New Year if you're sharing. It's a big one.
Absolutely.
All right, we have 13 speakers for public comment. Our first speaker is Bobby Creighton. Second speaker is Sarai Hurtado, and then Connie Burton. Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning, Bobby Creighton. I'm here today to talk on item 65. It's a motion that Councilwoman Hurtak made, and she asked a very good question. She asked, does the city have non-homesteaded properties with liens that we might be able to transition into affordable housing? In the staff's response, they generated this list of such properties. Some things immediately were drawn to my attention. About 1/3 of the properties on this list have multiple liens, but the list does not show the amount owed per property. And if I want to know who owes me money, I don't want to look 4 different places. I just want to have it in one place so I could know. But perhaps that's a tech issue. I had a very good conversation with the city staff yesterday, and I learned that some of these departments are working with just ancient technology. So perhaps this is a data management issue, and maybe that's why we see some of the other problems where we're not able to advance with the code enforcement and the way we can really leverage that to help people. The staff found that it's really not viable to pursue these properties. They said it costs too much in attorney's fees, it takes too long, and it's too complicated of a process. But I would like to point to St. Petersburg. In 2016, St. Petersburg implemented a program where they did start to foreclose on some of the most problematic properties. And while it did cost $1.3 million in attorney's fees, they got back $4.4 million in uncollected fines, and they were able to bring on 235 affordable housing units from 2016 to 2022. They developed an affordable lot disposition program as part of that process. I'm running out of time. I'm going to skip my map. I'll go straight to this. This is a property that was not included in that list. It's a burnt out, boarded up, padlocked, abandoned house. No one has lived there for years. They still claim a homestead exemption. That's why it wasn't on the list. They owe about $15,000. The city wants to settle that lien for $260. So I'm curious, in these neighborhoods, these are the most vulnerable neighborhoods in our city. These are the most likely neighborhoods to have speculative investment. I'm going quickly because of the time. We need to find a way to help these people. I mean, this is a grant. This is a grant either to someone who's really vulnerable and needs it, which is good and fine. We should have criteria and monitor that. Or it's the city taxpayer paying for somebody's investment to be fixed for pennies on the dollar, which is completely unacceptable in my opinion, especially when these types of properties are the most likely to affect quality of life and safety in our most vulnerable neighborhoods in the city. And since I have 15 seconds, I'll show you where these properties were clustered that were on this list. And you could see they're in our poorest, most vulnerable neighborhoods. We can do better as a city if we paid attention to this issue and we looked at what other cities are doing to update our processes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next speaker is Sarai Hurtado, followed by Ms. Connie Burton, and then Anthony Derby. Good morning. Please state your name.
Good morning, Council. My name is Sarai Nava Hurtado. I'm the Executive Director of Community Stepping Stones, and I'm here to thank you guys for agenda number 14, to you and the city staff that helped us with this contract. We appreciate you guys so much for helping us continue to work with the youth and inspire them in Sulphur Springs. Thank you so much on behalf of our families, our students, our staff, and the board. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Connie Burton, Mr. Anthony Derby, Ms. Mary Beth Williams. Good morning, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning, Connie Burton. The great poet, Sister Gwendolyn Bennett, wrote a poem entitled Hatred. I think it's an appropriate poem given the political season that we're in as we witness the constant attack on DEI, affirmative actions, and any other process that would have moved African Americans and others forward during periods of times when policies were made to keep them from being able to experiencing the American dream. Part of the poem is entitled Hatred. It says, against the sky, hating you shall be a game played with cool hands and slim fingers. Memory will lay its hands upon your breast, and you will understand my hatred. And so as we recognize January the 8th, as when Lyndon Johnson declared the war on poverty, I would say to this council, as you move forward in trying to figure out ways in which you can eliminate past harms. Item number 56, our community want to know, not just to you guys, but how has returning citizens, those that have paid their debt to society, being able to move forward within this city and the influence that the city has with ongoing contractors. Item number 57, we don't want to wait until sunset to know just how many young people will be able to benefit from the summer youth program. We want to know early on, because we believe that having jobs, economic opportunities is what help eliminate poverty in our community. So not only for our young people, but also for their family members, adult members, male members in our community. We know talents and gifts are there, the lack of opportunity. And also with item number 61, 60 through 63, we want to pay attention. We understand that in North Tampa, a lot of the families out there is transient. They was living in rental properties. Some of them has gone. And so we are hoping that city staff really pay due diligence in trying to identify those families, because I do recognize that when communities are organized, such in South Tampa that has been constant in coming, talking about harm and damages that was done to their property, we don't want these citizens and the residents in North Tampa to be overlooked. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Mr. Anthony Derby, Ms. Mary Beth Williams, and then Humara Afsal. Good morning, sir. Please say your name.
Good morning, council. My name is Anthony Derby. I'm born and raised Tampanian that owns a small family business in this great city. And lastly, I've had the great pleasure of serving on the board of directors for a nonprofit called Friends of the Riverwalk, which its sole mission is to activate, promote, and develop Tampa's waterfront, and come before you to emphasize the profound importance of the Tampa Riverwalk, both as a beacon of our city's identity and as a critical asset for economic, cultural, and social vitality of our community. Specifically, I urge you to approve funding for the expansion of the West Riverwalk, a project that will continue to enhance our city's potential and enrich the lives of all who call Tampa home. The Tampa Riverwalk has already proven to be transformative for our city. It is more than a picturesque path along the Hillsborough River. It's a dynamic hub that connects neighborhoods, promotes tourism, and fosters a sense of community. Every year, the Riverwalk attracts millions of visitors who contribute to the local economy by supporting nearby restaurants, shops, and attractions. It's become a magnet for events that bring people together, such as Riverfest, which celebrates Tampa's cultural and heritage, as well as national events like the NFL Super Bowl, NCAA tournaments, and other proven events that provide critical economic impact to our city and local businesses. But the Riverwalk is not just an economic driver, it's also a symbol of inclusivity and connection. It brings together people from all walks of life, offering an accessible space where families, athletes, and friends can gather. With Tampa growing, the need for shared public spaces where everyone feels welcome is more critical than ever. Expanding the Riverwalk to the West River area is a vital next step in realizing its full potential. The expansion will bridge gaps between communities, connecting neighborhoods that have historically been underserved or overlooked. It will provide residents and visitors with new opportunities to enjoy Tampa's natural beauty while encouraging healthy, active lifestyles. Moreover, the West Riverwalk project aligns with Tampa's commitment to sustainability and environmental stewardship. By enhancing pedestrian and bike access, the Riverwalk reduces reliance on cars, helping to alleviate congestion and decrease emissions. Additionally, the project creates opportunities for green infrastructure that will protect our river and preserve it for future generations. This is not an investment in infrastructure, it's an investment in Tampa's identity, equity, and future prosperity. Providing funding for the West Riverwalk is a bold step towards continuing the momentum we have built as a city committed to progress. This investment is not a gamble. We have all seen the impact that the current Riverwalk has played in downtown Tampa's revitalization. We owe that same opportunity to the West Tampa community. As we look ahead, let's embrace the vision of a connected Tampa where every resident has access to world-class public spaces. Let's leave a legacy that reflects our city's values, unity, innovation, and care for all. Thank you for your leadership in considering this critical initiative. Together, we will ensure that Tampa Riverwalk continues to be a source for pride and a foundation for growth.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
Mary Beth Williams, Humara Afzal, Stephanie Pointer. Good morning, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning, council members. My name is Mary Beth Williams. As a representative of Friends of the Riverwalk, I'm here to express our strong support for the Community Redevelopment Agency's allocation of $10 million to complete the West River District Multimodal Network System Safety Improvements Project. This initiative is pivotal for the continued development and enhancement of Tampa's Riverwalk and its surrounding neighborhoods. The project aims to fill the remaining gaps of a 12.2-mile multimodal use path along both sides of the Hillsborough River, enhancing connectivity between downtown Tampa and adjacent neighborhoods such as Hyde Park, West Tampa, and Tampa Heights. By providing safe, accessible mobility options for pedestrians and bicyclists, it will significantly contribute to the city's low-stress walk-bike network. Key benefits would include the addition of a multimodal path separated from vehicle traffic that will offer residents and visitors a safe and convenient transportation alternative. Implementing complete streets and traffic calming improvements will address areas with high numbers of pedestrian and bicycle crashes, aligning with the city's commitment to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries. Enhancing connections between communities, employment centers, and essential services will support economic competitiveness and improve the quality of life. Restoration of native shoreline will boost wildlife rehabilitation, filter stormwater runoff, and increase resilience to high tide storms and hurricanes. Friends of the Riverwalk is dedicated to developing, activating, and promoting Tampa's downtown waterfront. We believe that completing this project will not only enhance the Riverwalk experience, but also foster a stronger sense of community by connecting diverse neighborhoods and providing equitable access to Tampa's waterfront. We urge the CRA to approve necessary funding to bring this transformative project to fruition, ensuring a safe, more connected, and vibrant Tampa. Thank you for your leadership and for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Humara Afzal, Stephanie Pointer, Valerie Bullock.
Good morning, Homera Afzal. Let's talk about sidewalks a little bit. Lack of sidewalks throughout the city just negatively affect residents' daily lives. We're car dependent because it is not safe to walk around without a sidewalk, and it is a serious safety issue for people who need or want to walk where there are no sidewalks. The city is slowly working on expanding this. There's been a lot of commitment of funds, millions of dollars actually, and as Councilwoman Hertog mentioned, there's a workshop coming up in March. But all of these efforts are pointless if the city does not get serious about taking care of the sidewalks that we actually already have. Here's some photos. All over the city, we have blatant violations every day that go unticketed because ticketing is passive. You have to call somebody and ask somebody to come out. I have literally talked to people who are authorized to give parking violations, and they say, no, you have to call in, when they're standing there right next to 4 cars parked on the sidewalk. Here's some more. Here's a double violation. So we got illegally parked in a handicap spot and blocking the sidewalk. People do use these sidewalks. This is my granddaughter. This is my dog. We cannot walk on the sidewalk. One of the few sidewalks in my neighborhood every single day is blocked. This happens all over the city. I'm not just talking about the parts of the city that don't have sidewalks. Where we do have sidewalks, they're not taken care of. They're used for boats. They're used for trailers. And we wonder why our sidewalks are in such bad shape. Some of this is ticketing violators. Some of it is working with city departments. These are construction sites. There are city inspectors at these construction sites. There's no way they don't see the porta potties on the sidewalk. just tell the city inspectors to tell them you can't put the porta potty on the sidewalk. This is a construction site. Every single day I went by here, bike lane was usually blocked and the sidewalk was blocked. These are construction sites where we have city employees regularly visiting, but they just overlook it. We have sidewalks blocked in order to inform drivers that there's road work ahead. Again, tell our city workers to not put this stuff on the sidewalks. This is free fixes. This I had a very good experience. I talked to the city workers. They were very professional, very courteous, and they said, we will not do this again. So that was a very positive experience. But it shouldn't have had to be me. I shouldn't have to be asking city workers not, and I love our city workers. I've had great experiences, but I shouldn't have to be asking them not to park on the sidewalk. Good grief. We have law enforcement at their own homes who are parking on the sidewalk. These things can be fixed, but it takes leadership and it takes somebody actually wanting to do it.
Thank you very much. Stephanie Pointer, Valerie Bullock, Joe Robinson. Good morning, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. I love Humira's expose of deficient driveways, which constantly come before you. That's what the problem, that's a huge part of the problem she just showed you. I think it's very interesting who always shows up when somebody over there wants them to. They don't come any other time, but when they're told to. So you figure out who those people are today. I would like to point out once again that this West River Walk money goes against our comprehensive plan. This is the rules and the bylaws for our city. This says that you're not supposed to be spending $26 million in that area unless it's for hardening of infrastructure. You know, I talked to a nice lady from Forest Hills last night, and I asked them, why have you guys not been downtown? She goes, I didn't think about it.
Sir. Good morning. My name is Dr. Williams, located at 1112 East Scott Street. That's where my church is. But you know what? I thought I brought it in. The Milton destroyed my house, my roof and everything. And so somebody wrote me a letter. I don't know who it was. But they wrote me a letter and told me I wasn't qualified for no disaster money or nothing there. And I got the letter here, but I have to dig for it. But you know what? It's so sad the way white folks treat black folks. They treat us like worse than they treat a damn dog. A dog, they go pick him up, take him to the doctor, everything else. But let one of us get hurt or something like that, they walk over. But you know what? We got to keep praying and keep trusting in God. What they're doing to me, it ain't gonna stop me from trusting in God, keeping my faith in God. I keep my faith in God till the day I die, because He's the one who credited all of us to be here today. When the black folk come up here begging, but it seems like y'all don't have no ears to hear nothing we saying. You don't give a damn. Well, that is. So what I have to do, I bring that letter next week, where they disqualified me for getting disaster loan money to fix my roof. My roof still leaking, my water still cut off, everything going on. And I'm handicapped, I'm an old senior citizen. But you think anybody care about me? No, don't care about nobody like me. Because they think, oh, he ain't nothing but a nigga. We don't care nothing about no nigga. And they're talking about things that need to get some help. And we don't want nobody coming by our house, taking pictures, and don't do nothing about it. Just take a picture and tell me my house is in foreclosure and all that stuff. It's ridiculous how you all mistreat people of color. And I'm not just talking about myself. I'm talking about everybody come up here and stand up. And y'all can see what color we are. So I know what y'all say. Well, they don't give a damn about Frank Williams. Definitely, he's a black man. Stop looking at the color of our skin and judge us according to our citizenship, our trust seed, and everything else. We deserve everything that we deserve. Come You know who built this country up? Slaves, black slaves. Built this country up, and that's why it looks as good as it do.
Thank you very
But
much,
I know
sir.
what y'all wanna do. Want me to shut up and sit down. You ain't got to tell me. I'm gonna shut up and sit down anyway. Thank God for that.
Jose Vasquez and Michael Randolph. Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Jose Vasquez. I'm resident of 2222 North 64th Street. My business is located 1924 North 60th Street. And I'm here because I have a problem with a property owned by the city of Tampa. And I'm glad I'm here to see Mr. Martin because my last conversation with the Tampa police about this issue, he just told me to take it to civil. So that's the reason I'm here today, because for years, the city of Tampa is the owner of this block right here on 59th Street. The property I rented, the only access is through that road. Now, I got two neighbors who decide to take over the property belongs to the city of Tampa. They put a fence. One neighbor uses it as a parking lot and dumping trash. The other neighbor, what he do? Take advantage of the fence, rented the property, making profit, and do a lot of illegal things, causing floodings, environmental problems to the city of Tampa. I don't say so. Right now, yesterday, mobility was over there because they need to fix a bridge. And I wish that all of you city council members can take a visual look at what I try to explain to you. My problem is this gentleman using your property to deny me legal access to my entry on my business. I discovered this because a tree fell on top of my vehicle on June 8th. That was my birthday present. When I asking my neighbors, who gonna be responsible to fix my truck? Oh, that tree no belongs to me. That tree no belongs to me. I called the city of Tampa to explain the problem. And when the crew come, they tell me, hold on, the road not supposed to come in this way. It's coming this way. And that's the reason I figured out, I opened this new Pandora box. I'm asking you support to take back your property. What is my legal interest for do business? It's so sad. I spend my time try to clean the property, put everything on the curb as required by the law. And this neighbor just get mad, upset with me, curse me out, tell me things that you don't want it to hear it, I already got it recorded. And he put it back. He littered in that property and the Tampa police do not want to issue a ticket. Maybe he don't understand that. But I'm here today to ask him for your help and your support to take back your property and to see that area. And Ms. Gwendolyn, we had to do a lot of work because when you see the property maps, you got to see these big companies take over the city of Tampa road, especially 10th Avenue. They connecting properties, and this is illegal.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Vasquez, if I may, I believe I talked to you about a month ago or something. I don't know if it's the same property.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I don't know what the operation is, but.
I want to bring to.
Well, just a second, Joe.
Wait, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure that everything that, do you have a list of items? Can you write us a letter of all that? And I want to find out who owns the property, first of all. You said the city of Tampa owns the property and they have ingress and egress without paying anything. And your property is right next door.
It's at the end of the road.
All right, I'll give you his
Yeah.
phone number and everything.
Yeah, all right, I'll get it
Thank
from
you
the
very
chairman.
much, sir.
All
If
right,
you give me
thank
30 seconds,
No, no, no,
Inspector
sir.
Joyner.
He's got it, he's got it, he'll give it to me.
We'll
Thank you.
contact you.
Congressman doing his job. He just needing more support.
Michael Randolph, are you online, sir? He's not? That concludes public comment. All right, let's start with the agenda. Item number 3 is a resolution approving the reappointment of Trevor Rosine by the mayor to the Human Rights Board of the City of Tampa in the other position for a 3-year term commencing February 18th. We have a motion to
Second.
approve this resolution for item number 3 by Councilmember Henderson, second by Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? For the walk-on item, it's a resolution, it's on the addendum. This is approving the execution by the mayor and the attestation by the city clerk of a license and hold harmless agreement between the city and the Tampa Port Authority, DBA Port of Tampa, Mystic Crew of Gasparilla, and licensee in order to allow Mystic Crew to construct a temporary retrofit of the hurricane-damaged ballast point for their use at certain identified events, which is Gasparilla. Can I get a motion to
I
approve
move
the
it, Mr.
resolution?
Chairman. It's an item that they're taking full responsibility for any damage or anything else that happens. So the cities of Tampa citizens are not responsible for anything.
Exactly. We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Item number 4 through 12, Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Vieira.
Yes, so moved.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Henderson.
Yes, Chair, I move items 13 through 17 for Neighborhood and Community Affairs.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Hurtak.
Yes, I move items 18 through 24.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Miranda, 25 through 32
Chairman, I
with
move
the exception
25 to
of
32
29.
with 29 being pulled.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, you're the Vice Chair for Development Economic Opportunities.
Yeah, I move items 33 through 37.
All right, we have a motion from
Second.
Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, you are the Chair of Mobility and Asset, 38 through 40.
I move items 38, 39, and 40.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Items number 41, 2, and 3 need to be set for public hearings. Yes, sir.
Whenever we're done with that vote.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Clendenin to the set 41, 2, and 3 public hearings. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Vieira?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to point out to council that on items 13, 15, and 16, we passed some really special programs that I think we all ought to be proud of. This gives funds to the Grow Group and Achieving Synergy for Empowerment Incorporated for the special needs internship with the city of Tampa, which is going to be which is right now, we actually have it running, and this will further refine it, a $15 an hour program for special needs internships. People with intellectual disabilities, autism, et cetera, will benefit from this. And that moves that forward. And then item number 16 is a $75,000 grant for the Penguin Project from the New Tampa Players, which runs special needs theater. And I know some council members, I'm sure, have seen their productions, et cetera, but this is something that I'd pushed for some time ago. I think this is their second year getting this, if I recall, because they need to have support. And, you know, the arts, if we just go for the big shiny things when it comes to the arts, I think we're going to wind up ignoring smaller institutions like this, and this is something that's very important. So just wanted to point that out for council, that these are really good things that we all ought to be proud of for people with intellectual disabilities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, let's get a motion to open the public hearing for 10 o'clock. And we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's just 10 o'clock hearings today. Item number 44 is non-quasi judicial. We don't have to swear folks in yet. So item 44, Mr. Malloy, come on up. Please state your name. Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Council members, good morning.
No, we can proceed. Oh, before the vote. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. This is exactly, council members, what we presented to you just about 30 days ago. This is the first part of 2 applications you'll see from us. This is the vacating portion. And all I want to stress to you right now is I think that we may have confused you or ourselves the first time around about what we were vacating and what we were using for access here on this project. For this part of the application, we are vacating or asking to vacate this here. We control both sides of the alley here, so we'd be the benefit of this part. This is not our property, so this neighbor would get this half of the alley. This is not our access program that was so discussed vibrantly last time. This is just the vacating portion. So that's what I wanted to make clear.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant? All right, is there anything further to the presentation? I see none, so do we have any public comment here? I believe we have quite a few people for 44. If you are going to speak on 44, please come on up and state your name, I believe.
Well,
No? Okay. No? All right. There's nobody registered. We have a motion to close for item 44. Do we have a second?
well, so,
Second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Councilmember Vieira, would
Yes,
you
sir.
read 44?
Yes, sir. I move an ordinance being presented for, do we have to?
may I say something, Mr. Chairman? I think,
She's right here.
in my mind, okay, I changed my mind as the other council member came in. I was asking you to wait for more council member to have
Yeah,
a fair
no,
vote.
Councilmember Carlson's absent today, but this is what we have.
Which item are we on?
44.
Do you need anything before I read it, or are you good to vote? Okay, just making sure. I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance of the city of Tampa, Florida, vacating, closing, discontinuing, and abandoning that alleyway, right-of-way located north of Amelia Avenue, south of Columbus Drive, east of Glenwood Drive, and west of North Boulevard, within the plat of Richwood Park subdivision in the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County, Florida, is more particularly described in section 2 hereof, subject to certain covenants, conditions, and restrictions, as more particularly set forth herein, providing for enforcement and penalties for violations, providing for definitions, interpretations, and repealing conflicts, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Clendenin. It's going to be a roll call vote. Is that correct? A voice vote? Yes. Yeah. We have a motion from Vieira, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Voice roll call.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson,
No.
Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
No.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
No.
Motion failed due to it being tied.
It's a
Sorry,
tied
could you,
vote, so it would go to the
could you read
next-
could you read the votes, please?
It's 3-3.
And who voted which way?
Clendenin, Henderson, Clendenin, Vieira, and Hurtak voted yes. Henderson, Miranda, and Maniscalco voted no, and Carlson is absent.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Rule 4C states that if a motion to approve, deny, or continue an ordinance or a resolution of a legislative matter, if it fails to receive at least 4 votes either in support or opposition, it shall automatically be brought before the council at the next regular meeting as unfinished business.
All righty, so it'll come back, let me see what the date is.
So again-
January 23rd
So then in that case,
for the tiebreaker vote.
yes.
Okay. So can we proceed with 45 since it's close to it or attached to it, or?
My suggestion would be,
Ms. Wells is coming up.
What the hell just happened?
Yes, ma'am?
Thank you, Kate Wells for the legal department. Since the vacating petition failed due to a tie vote, the area proposed to be vacated is included within the site plan for the rezoning under item 45. It would be my recommendation that item 45 be continued to the same day that council will take up the vacating petition.
All right. So 44 and 45 will come back January 23rd at the next regular council meeting because of the tie vote, because we need to have 4 votes one way or the other, and we
Motion
don't.
to continue.
We have a
Second to
motion to
continue.
continue 44 and 45 to January 23rd. Councilmember,
question.
or Mr. Shelby.
I have a question for Ms. Wells before she sits.
Also, do you want to take up the motion, as a part of the motion, date, time, and place, please?
So 10 a.m.
For both of them?
For both of them, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602, which is this room, January 23rd, 10 a.m. public hearing. Yes, Councilmember Hurtak.
I have a question for Ms. Wells. If this goes to a denial, doesn't council have to come up with competent and substantial evidence to put into the record for the denial at this stage, or no?
So I don't know where Ron is.
The-
The vacating petition is a legislative decision.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's it.
Wasn't thinking.
Yep.
All right, so we have a motion to continue these 2 items to January 23rd, 10 a.m. at this location. Yes, sir.
Council members, if any editorial that you can give me to come back and help this case, I'm open to it right now.
My suggestion is, council, with regard to item 44, if you could make a motion along with continuing it. If it's a motion to continue, the hearing should be reopened for that purpose. If there's any questions to be raised on item 44, that would be the time for Councilmember Carlson, who is absent, or anybody else to do that. So my suggestion.
Should we ask if there's anybody in council that would like to provide that information before we reopen it?
Well, my suggestion right now is a 3-3 tie. So it's by action of your rules, it has not been closed. It is still, it has to be reopened.
Motion to reopen.
Motion to reopen from Councilman Vieira. Do we have a second? Second, Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Councilman Vieira, Hurtak, Miranda.
Yes, sir. My question for Councilman Clendenin, just out of curiosity, are you asking for someone to explain their vote?
Well, I think that, the applicant has asked for clarification so that they can have some additional information to bring to the next hearing. So if somebody with this dais would like to provide some clarification for the denial, maybe it would help them.
So
yeah.
I don't believe that is appropriate now.
Well, that's why I asked that question. Before I did it, that's why I asked that question.
It is after the vote. And a motion to continue, was the motion passed?
No, we didn't vote on the motion to continue.
Okay.
Councilmember Hurtak, did you want to speak still? And Councilman Miranda.
I think the best thing I could recommend you do is go back to the video of the last one and kind of look at that. I mean, we can't give any other reasoning, so that would be my recommendation to you.
And I'd also, counsel, just remind you that this is, as Ms. Wells did state, this is associated with a quasi-judicial matter. That will have to be also taken up depending on what happens with item 44, one way or the other. But that being the case, I would remind you with regard to the advice to avoid any ex parte communications relative to this subject.
Councilman Miranda.
I just want to say that we ought to make sure that we have a full council.
Yeah.
Be to happen. That way, everything is done, he has a right then to appeal and speak to us as a full council. We're missing one council member. And to your own benefit, I would say wait until you have a full council.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Clendenin? No? All right, can we close the hearing again? Motion to close from Councilman Vieira, second Councilman Miranda, all in favor? Aye. We're closing we reopened it so he could speak, and now we're closing.
Open it for the purposes of continuing it.
Oh, okay, sorry, scratch that. We're not closing the hearing. Motion to reopen the public hearing?
No, continue it to the
To
date.
continue, it's continued.
Okay, no, because I just made the other motion. So, all right, we have a motion to continue to January 23rd, 10 a.m., 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, 33602. What? Yes, ma'am.
Miss Wells, actually, never mind. I'm going to have to ask you offline.
All right, we have a motion to continue in a second.
I'm just going to ask the question. The ordinance on first reading was initiated by the person who switched their vote. Does that matter?
I'll defer to your city council attorney on rules of procedure.
Was it read at a second reading today by somebody different?
Okay, just asking.
Okay.
I just want to know the answer to that question.
Yes, somebody
Okay.
different, yes.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to continue. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, 44 and 45 will come back 10 a.m. January 23rd. Thank you very much. Item number 46, Todd Pressman is registered remotely. I don't see him here in the room. If you're going to speak on 46 through 51 and you're here in the room, please stand, raise your right hand, and we'll swear you in. All right, is Mr. Pressman online, or does he have, he is? All right, did you see him raise his right hand? I don't see him on the screen. That's his presentation, but.
Mr.
Are
Chairman,
you
I'm
here on
also here
behalf?
on that issue.
Is that the one that you?
Yes.
Stepped, okay, go ahead, Mr. Michelini, 46.
The revisions have been submitted, and would respectfully request your approval.
All right, is there anybody here in the public that wishes to speak on item number 46? I see no one. Motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Miranda, would you mind reading 46?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 46, file number REZ 24-09. Ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4913 North McDill Avenue, the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning districts classification RM24.
Councilman Miranda, yes, Ms. Wells.
I was a little off guard. I believe staff is available to do the initial presentation and to address the revisions that were required to be
Okay.
made between first and second reading.
All right, can I get a
Thank you.
motion to reopen the public
So
hearing?
moved.
Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Beer. All in favor? Aye. All right, sir, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Good morning, council members. Sam Thomas, Development Coordination. Revisions have been made to the site plan as submitted on the revision sheet, and those revised plans have been submitted to the clerk. Just as a refresher, this item is a request for a rezoning for a property located at 4913 North McDill Avenue, and the request is to rezone from residential multifamily 24 to planned development for residential single-family attached. I'm available if there are any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Miranda, I apologize, number
No
46.
problem, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Item number 46, file number RZ 24-09, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 4913 North McDill Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM24 residential multifamily to PD plan development residential single family attached, providing an effective date.
We have a motion and a second from Councilmember Clendenin. Roll call vote.
Vera,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously and Carlson is absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, council. Good to see you all.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year. Enjoy your day.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 47.
Good morning, Stephanie Pope, Development Coordination. Item number 47 is REZ 2477. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 4720 North Clark Avenue. The request is to rezone from industrial general to planned development for all industrial general uses. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. I am available if you have any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Pope? Yes, sir. Mr. Michelini, go ahead, sir.
As the staff has indicated, the revisions have been made and submitted, accepted, and approved, and we're respectfully requesting your approval.
All right, we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on 47? We don't have anybody virtual. Motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Henderson, 47.
Yes, Chair, I move file number REZ 24-77, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4720 North Clark Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification IG industrial general to PD plan development, all industrial general uses, providing an effective date.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Vera,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously and Carlson.
Thank
very
you, council.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, item number 48, Mr. Thomas.
Sam Thomas, Development Coordination. Item number 48 is REZ 2494. This item is a request to rezone the property located at 4107 and 4115 West Spruce Street. The request is to rezone from planned development to planned development for residential multifamily. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. I'm available if there are any questions.
All right, any questions for the gentleman? I see none. Ms. Shaler's registered online, but she's here. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, council. I have nothing further to add, but happy to answer any questions. Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. Sorry.
Any questions? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on 48? I see no one. Can I get a motion to close? Motion to close from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Clendenin, 48.
I move file number REZ 2494, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4107 and 4115 West Spruce Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classifications PD plan development to PD plan development residential multifamily provided an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Roll call vote, please.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin.
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously with Carlson being absent.
Thank you very much. Item number 49, Mr. Thomas.
Sam Thomas, Development Coordination. Item number 49 is REZ 24107. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 203 South Moody Avenue. The request is to rezone from residential office 1 to plan development for residential single-family detached and semi-detached. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. I'm available if there are any questions.
Any questions? Is there an applicant? Item 49, yes, sir. Mr. McElhaney, please state your name.
Yes, the revisions have been made and accepted by the staff and certified. We respectfully request your approval.
Thank you very much. Anybody in the public wish to speak on item 49? I see no one. Motion closed from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Hurtak, 49.
Yes, file number REZ 24-107, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 203 South Moody Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RO1 residential office to PD plan development residential single-family detached and semi-detached, providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, roll call vote, sorry.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin.
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson, Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously with Carlson being absent.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thomas, item 50.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, sir.
Sam Thomas, Development Coordination. Item number 50 is REZ 2511. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 2705 and 2708 North 18th Street. The request is to rezone from residential single-family 50 to plan development for storefront residential, all commercial neighborhood uses. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. I'm available if there are any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Thomas? I see none. Yes, ma'am. Come on up and please state your name.
Hi, Bryce Pinson with Half Associates here, just representing the applicant. I don't have anything further to add. This is for the reuse of the cigar factory you guys heard about last time, so I'm here if you have any questions.
Any questions? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 50?
Motion closed.
We have a motion closed from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilmember Miranda, item 50.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it very much. File number RZ 2511. Ordinance being presented for second reading adoption. An ordinance rezoning property general vicinity of 2705, 2708 North 18th Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to PD plan development storefront residential all commercial neighborhood uses, providing an effective date.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor? I'm sorry,
Aye.
roll call vote, roll call vote.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously with Carlson being absent.
All right, Council Attorney Shelby, item 51, there was an error.
Yes, there's an error that I'm going to ask council to correct on the agenda for item number 51. If you look at the bottom of that item, it says the original motion was to approve by a motion of Carlson and Vieira. So the section in red that shows the previous vote of Carlson and Vieira no is incorrect. It should be correctly stated that council members Clendenin and Henderson voted no on item 51. I would like to ask City Council to make a motion and a vote to correct today's agenda so that it correctly reflects item 51 to show that at first reading Clendenin and Henderson voted no.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Clendenin. This is just to correct the record. Correct the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And for the record, Mr. Chairman, upon the clerk checking the minutes of the December 12th meeting, it was recorded correctly.
Okay, so the actual record is correct. The agenda is incorrect. So therefore, item number 51, Mr. Thomas, and then we'll go to Ms. Shaler. Yes, sir.
Sam Thomas, Development Coordination. Item number 51 is REZ 2452. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 205, 207, and 209 East Columbus Drive, 2301, 2303, 2307, and 2315 North Florida Avenue, 204 and 206 East Amelia Avenue, and folio number 191372.000. The request is to rezone from residential multifamily 24 and commercial intensive to planned development for storefront residential, all commercial general uses, and commercial parking. Revisions have been completed and certified plans have been submitted to the clerk's office. I'm available if there are any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Thomas? Councilmember Clendenin.
Mr. Thomas, in the first hearing, I had expressed concern about the lack of retail on this critical corner in the city of Tampa. Did the applicant between first and second reading expand the amount of retail space or the commercial space on the first floor?
The commercial space has not been expanded.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Shaler?
Alex Shaler, 400 North Ashley Drive. I have nothing further to add, but happy to answer questions.
All right, any questions for the applicant? If not, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item?
Move to close.
We have a motion to close.
I'd like to say. Go and close first.
Yeah, motion to close from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilmember Clendenin, you wanted to speak?
I did, and I had expressed this during the first reading about, this is especially for this neighborhood, it's asking an awful lot for an intensive project and the impact that it has on neighbors. And, I understand that there are some projects for the greater good that we absorb that impact on neighborhoods, but you have to be able to give something as well. And having really an inconsequential amount of commercial space on this critical intersection that is going to be a major transportation hub for us in the future, I think is just negligent for us to pass this without having that space reserved, because you're not providing space for a dry cleaner or a pizzeria or a bank or any of the other services that the neighbors would want to have in this neighborhood. And as we build density, and this council's already approved so many high-density developments around this area, the YMCA project down the street, all of these other amenities, a lot of residents are going to come into this area, and they're going to require this kind of space. And for us to not reserve that space at this point, I think is a major oversight. So I'm going to confirm my vote of no on this project.
Thank you very much. I left off with Councilmember Miranda. No, go ahead, Vieira.
Thank you.
Because the record said Vieira no, but that was not correct. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Move an ordinance presented for second reading and adoption ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 205, 207, and 209 East Columbus Drive, 2301, 2303, 2307, and 2315 North Florida Avenue, 204 and 206 East Amelia, and folio number 191372-0000. In the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RM24 residential multifamily and CI commercial intensive to PD planned development storefront residential commercial, all commercial general uses, commercial parking, providing an effective date.
We have a motion. We have a second from Councilmember Miranda, correct?
Yes, sir.
Roll call vote, please.
Henderson,
No.
Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson, Hurtak,
I'm actually gonna vote no on this because I thought about it afterward, and I tend to agree we need a lot more commercial in this corridor, and it's just the project's very close, but it's not there. So no.
Clendenin,
No.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion is tied. Henderson, Hurtak, Clendenin voted no. Vieira, Miranda, and Maniscalco voted no. Carlson is absent.
So this goes to January 23rd, Mr. Shelby?
Yes, Rule 6H, if a motion in a quasi-judicial matter fails to receive at least 4 votes, the motion fails. And if another motion in order is not made, the public hearing shall be automatically reopened and continued to a time certain at the next regularly scheduled council meeting. What is council's pleasure?
Councilmember Hurtak.
I just wanted to correct the record because you said voted no twice.
Yeah.
So could you repeat that vote just to make sure we have the record correct?
Henderson, Hurtak, Clendenin voted no. Vieira, Miranda, and Maniscalco voted yes, and Carlson is absent.
Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to continue this item
So
to
moved.
January 23rd, 10 a.m., 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, 33602. Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, this will come back because it is a tie vote. Mr. Shelby.
Yes, I'm sorry, Martin Shelby, City
With the
Council Attorney.
resolution.
Also traveling with that is a resolution approving a bonus provision. So would that travel,
Yeah, that
is
travels
that
with
part
it.
of the motion?
Yes. Is that part of the
Yeah,
motion?
sure, it's travel with it, it was on here, it's part of the motion. In fact, you can't vote on that until you pass the other one, so it's gotta
Understood.
travel with it.
Thank you.
Package deal. All right, item number 52, Deanna Faggart is here. And Chief Bennett.
Good morning, Council. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Good morning to our public. Just a couple quick comments, and then we're here to answer questions. First, thanking Council for the continuation of the first reading to today. I also want to thank the fact that Eric Kopesky has weighed in with us and did some analysis, so I appreciate that. And we're here to answer questions based on the memo and the backup material that's been sent in previously, and we'll turn it back to Council. Thank you.
All right, any questions for the chief or Deanna? Or do you have anything further to add, ma'am?
No, we've spoke on this a few times and submitted a memo with some additional information. So if you've got questions, I'm happy to answer any of them.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Yes, I actually want Ms. Kopesky to come up because my concern about this is in making sure that we have a good record. And I talked about this before. Right now, we get the amounts, we get things from under 100,000, and we get a very grainy PDF that's sideways, that's emailed to us once a month. And so my big concern about this is that we have a better record keeping. So I have no problem moving this forward with the idea that Ms. Kopesky is going to be working with several folks, and I'll let Ms. Kopesky talk a little bit about what we both would like to see on a report.
Okay, yeah, so I think some of that will come out a little later. It's not going to be.
You have to say your name first.
Hager Kopesky, City Council Budget Analyst. So yes, the report will continue to be provided. And part of that was visually just the quality of what would come through was difficult to read, so that's an easy fix. In terms of, and I say this just because we have not actually started that, but we are working together to develop what those particular attributes will be. But that just is to ensure that now that we are going to be expanding the transaction count that won't come forward, that you can see the visibility to those vendors, to the amounts, to the contract types. So we will just ensure that what continues to be available is going to give you what you need to be able to continue to have oversight over those items that will no longer come formally in front of you.
So with that, I would love to, on the April 3rd agenda, I would love to have that come back with the new
format.
Yeah, with the new format, just again to kind of close the loop and make sure it has all the things that I'm looking for, that the rest of council is looking for, to see if there's anything else. So that would be my request. If this were to pass, I will make a motion stating that, if that works for Ms. Faggart and Chief Bennett.
Thank you, Councilman. It absolutely does. We're all about the transparency. I have asked Deanna's office that in the current state, anything that reaches 95,000 that gets a specific memo, just so you don't see us bumping up to the ceiling without additional transparency. So we would continue to scale that with a new amount. But again, I've said on the record, and I appreciate council understanding, this is trying to balance transparency and accountability with workload and staff and modernize the number after 25 years. I think it's a great balance, and we're happy to get the report that council needs.
Great, and I'm not going to wait until April for my feedback. I will be working, and I hope that council will also be working in the interim, but I just thought that it would be great to bring it so the public can see what that feedback looks like and make sure that it might be available somewhere for people to see as well, not just us as council members getting an email, but where could that be available for the public to see on the monthly basis as well. And again, that's something I think we can all work on together by the April 3rd meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson? No? Okay. All right. Who would like to read this? Mr. Shelby, there's no public comment, correct?
Legislative matter, the second reading is where you take public comment.
All right,
You
Councilmember
ready?
Clendenin.
Oh, I thought.
I move file number E20248, Chapter 2, ordinance being presented for reading, first reading and consideration, an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida regarding bidding and certain contracts, amending Section 276, City of Tampa Code to exempt from City Council approval all purchases requiring an expenditure of less than $200,000, amending Section 2-277 City of Tampa Code to authorize the Director of Purchasing to administer public improvement contracts estimated to cost less than $200,000, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, herewith providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Yes, sir.
You don't need a roll call vote on that one, on a first reading. I'm sorry for interrupting, but that, you don't need a roll call vote. That would be, a voice vote is fine.
Yeah, it's a voice vote. It's not a
It's not a quasi-judicial.
quasi-judicial, yeah. Thank you.
It's first reading.
Wait, we're gonna pass this, or we're gonna? We already passed it. Do you have the? Yeah, go ahead.
Second reading and adoption will be held on February 6, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida 33602.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurtak has a motion.
Yes, I would like staff to come back on April 6th, or 3rd, I'm sorry, and it is an open date for, to bring a updated list, including, and to work with Ms. Kopesky to create an updated list of what, of the new format that will show purchases of less than $200,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. All right,
Thank you.
item number 53. Is there anything further to add, or is this Mr. Vasky? No?
Justin Vasky, Legal Department. Just a reminder, this is an ordinance that's amending chapter, or section 2-280 of the city code, requiring that work orders may be issued, not be issued to a single provider of professional services exceeding $200,000 in the aggregate per fiscal year without city council approval, and increasing the threshold amount for city council approval of work orders from $100,000 to $200,000. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. No? All right. Councilmember Henderson, would you like to read 53? I'm sorry for jumping over.
No, it's fine, Chair. I move file number E 2024-8, Chapter 2, ordinance being presented for second reading consideration. First reading, thank you. First reading consideration, an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, amending City of Tampa Code, Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 3, purchases and contracts, Section 2-280, requiring that work orders may not be issued to a single provider of professional services exceeding $200,000 in the aggregate per fiscal year without city council approval, and increasing the threshold amount for city council approval of work orders from $100,000 to $200,000, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
There's, oh, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Second hearing and adoption will be held on February 6, 2025 at 10 a.m. at Old City Hall located at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida 33602.
Thank you very much.
And just for the record, motion passed unanimously with Carlson being absent.
Thank you very much. We are doing so great on time.
I have a,
Yes.
I'm very sorry, but I have a modification to my motion.
This is the previous motion?
Yes,
of
my
52?
previous
Okay.
motion, and because, what, the part I forgot to say was, a way to share with with the public monthly. I also want to be able to see how they're going to be doing that. Is there, can I add on to that? Do I, like, what, Mr. Shelby, how do I fix this?
Motion to amend.
So I have a motion to amend to include the ways that staff is going to share with the public monthly.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Yes, sir, Councilman.
I'm not a lawyer or anything else, but I think we ought to reopen the hearing so you can put it on the original motion.
No, we didn't have to close this hearing.
Okay,
It's a
all
first
right.
reading.
No, and it was after the
Yeah, it was
motion.
legislative and not.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we have a motion to amend with a second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we go to staff reports. However, it's 10:51 for item number 29. It was mentioned to bring that up after lunch, so more people could take a look at that.
Sure, yeah.
So we'll wait on that.
I don't mind that. I was looking at it, yeah, I forgot about that. That's
Okay.
fine, and I don't know if Vic's here for that.
Do you want to hold it till after lunch?
If I may, and I know, and Mr. Bede, a council member wanted it after lunch,
know,
so
that's-
that's.
Well, but,
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am?
so here's the thing. It looks like we're gonna be done possibly before lunch. So how about this? If we can get through the rest, and if we can just have a 5 to 10 minute recess, that I can look over it, and then since this is coming back to us
So you don't want to come back after lunch?
if we don't need to, why?
Hey, I'm fine with it. I'm good with it.
I mean-
But I didn't know if it was a time-sensitive issue with after like 1 o'clock for Forest Hills to look at it and.
No, from what I talked to Forest Hills last night, they're just gonna have to watch the recording anyway because everybody's working. So, my issue is I really just wanted to be able to go through it really quickly. And since this is coming back to us, shortly anyway, it's also coming back later. This was kind of just anyway, so I'm fine if after we get through the rest of this, if I can just have 5 to 10 minutes to look over it. I think all of us should, and then we could finish before lunch, which
All right.
would be some sort of magic.
So do you want to start with 29 now or leave it to the?
Wait,
She needs time, so.
Okay,
yeah,
all
so
right,
we
so
can-
we're
Let's
gonna-
finish everything and then.
All right, so this is not on the agenda, but this is for Mr. Shelby.
Oh, it is?
Yes, for 20 years of service, which was actually a few months ago, right? What was your anniversary date?
June 15th.
June 15th, but weren't you you were honored a few months ago with other city employees, I believe. You were mentioned.
I was mentioned?
Yes.
That's funny, I wasn't there.
Because, I know, but I have this pin of 20 years of service that I'd like to present to you, well, we'd like to present to you. I was gonna get you a gold watch with the engraving on the back, usually.
I'll wait.
But all we could do was this pin.
I thank
And I wanted
you.
to present, and we want to thank you for 20 plus years of service to the city council. So
I'm honored.
congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Council, I'm honored. I'll take it down.
All right, so we're gonna start with item 55. It's a $12 million contract. Ms. Colina.
If we
Yes.
can, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We had 2 items that were on the, that we don't have to have staff reports for, 55 and 57.
Yeah.
Did we move those?
No, I'm getting to them right now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So 55, it was a no. Can we?
Receive and file on 55, 57.
No, I think
No, no, you have to
they're
move to
actions,
approve.
aren't they?
I'll move to
Or they're
approve.
not?
All right, we have a motion to approve item 55. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Oh, and
I-
57 is just a report, that's to receive and file.
Yes. Item 57 was to receive and file. Motion to receive and file from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Henderson. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a quick question. During the agenda, someone said that we are increasing to 73. I was confused. What exactly
I
happened?
spoke to Tony Mulkey, and it was, and now OSEA oversees the program.
Yes.
So I was at a Christmas party back in December, and I spoke to an individual who had asked me about supporting increasing it to 72 or increasing the number of
Okay.
summer youth. And I said I would support that. So I brought that up to Tony Mulkey. He was going to do more research on it. Basically, I asked, is it a matter of money? Is it a matter, how do we get there to it's January. We have plenty of time before the summer begins so we can get the ball rolling. He was going to reach out to Ms. Nguyen and get more information and get back with me.
Okay, because that is different than the conversation I had with Ms. Nguyen during my prep meeting, so I just wanted to be sure. I'm wildly in support of it. I just didn't think we were going to be able to this year, so I think that's a really good thing, and we should laud that. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yeah, just to clarify too, since I had made this request, the summer youth employment program, although isolated for particular reasons in East Tampa when it was under the CRA, now that it is a city, under the city's budget, in a different capacity, we do have to open it up to, the entire community of young folks who may be interested. So to look at an increase provides us with the opportunity to still maintain a level of support for what it was originally intended. So I just wanted to make that comment
Yeah, and
publicly.
what I told Mr. Mulkey was, I remember when I was 13 years old, my parents didn't give me an allowance, and my grandmother at the time was the boss, and I would beg her to just work on the weekends, do whatever I could, because they had a little business. And I think it made me a better person, because it kept me busy on the weekends. I was 13, 14, 15 years old. It allowed me to save some money. And as I say, as it's said, what is it? Idle hands are the devil's workshop. I think, it built a foundation for me. So anyways, if we can do that, I mean, my story is nothing compared to this, but if we can reach out to the community and offer young people opportunities, not everybody goes to college. They might want to work right out of high school. My brother-in-law is a perfect example. He didn't go to college. He went right into construction. He and my sister have a good life. The point I'm making is, if we can reach out to a bigger group of young people and offer them opportunities to help build this foundation, I think it'll be a hand up in bettering their future. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do in expanding this program and moving forward. So, motion to receive and file?
So moved.
For 57. Motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Aye. No, I like to work. All right, item number 56, Councilmember Vieira, that was
Sure.
your item, if you want to.
Yes, sir, and I know if Ms. McKenzie was going to be speaking virtually,
Is Ms. McKenzie online available now? If not, we'll come back to it.
Yes, can you hear me, Council?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, this is, for the record, my name is Brenda McKenzie, Director of Workforce Partnerships.
Can you turn your
And-
camera on? It's just a blank screen.
Yeah, I see that. I apologize, let's see.
It's like Hal from 2001.
It's kind of purple. I promise I am here. I'm not sure how to flip the camera.
Is it covered?
Yeah,
yes, sometimes.
No, it is not covered.
all right. Because it's not a public hearing, can we just listen to her voice?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, all right, go ahead, ma'am. It's okay.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I am here to provide an annual report on the number of returning citizens being hired. With council's guidance, we started the program, it was approved with the last budget year. In the program, with Abe Brown Ministries, they were able to enlist 253 individuals into the program. Oh, Brian's here, come on in. I can't flip the camera. They were able to enlist 253 individuals. Of that, 207 completed a mandatory 6-week professional development course. And of that, 164 have been already employed. This is notable because it is a 12-month program that individuals are asked to sign up for with Abe Brown. So the fact that they've been able to place 79% of the individuals before the end of the 12-month period is pretty impressive. So I'm here for any questions that council may have.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much. No, yeah, and Ms. McKenzie, I wanted to thank you. Obviously, we've worked together on this for some time. This was originated with a joint program that we did with Commissioner Gwen Myers to do a joint county and city returning citizens program, and we're should be all very proud of that effort. Every year in the United States, I believe the number is about 750,000 people leave the prison system, and we know that within 3 years, about 2/3 of them will reoffend again, and that's just a crippling social failure on our part, locally, state of Florida, throughout the United States, and that's obviously a national number, and local governments really need to be involved on this issue. It's a matter of equity, it's a matter of justice, it's a matter of family, and it's also a matter of preventing crime. And it's something that affects many, many families across income spectrums, political spectrums, et cetera. I believe it was Brian Stevenson from the Equal Justice Initiative who once said that we're all better than the worst mistake we've ever done in our life. We're all better than the worst thing we've ever done, and I think that's very, very true. And so for us to take a stand on this and to go forward with it, I think is very important. There are two things that I'd like to see, and I'm actually meeting with Abraham Ministries on this, and Ms. McKenzie and I have talked about this. I'd like to see something that we can start work on now that will really be up and running towards the end of this administration and be in full throttle for the next administration, which would be an Office of Returning Citizens for the city of Tampa, a formal office under economic development that allows guidance for returning citizens in our city, to connect them to services, to connect them to job opportunities, et cetera, and to listen to their voices and the voices of their families on issues that are relevant to them, and to make permanent this program investment that we do. And I know it goes through contracting. The secular arm of Abraham Ministries first got it. Whoever gets it, the county, I believe, did that contracting. To make that permanent in the budget every single year as something that's expected and increased, because we need to, again, work on the issue of returning citizens. It's an issue where, unfortunately, you get some pushback sometimes from some people on it who are not, with all due respect, very thoughtful on the issue. People go, why are you investing in people who have been to prison? Well, those are our parents, those are our brothers and our sisters and our neighbors. There are our fellow congregants who come to church or synagogue or mosque and temple and worship with us. And there are people who deserve respect and dignity, and their families deserve respect. So I thank you for this. I think it's very, very important. I see it, thank God, as somebody who was raised in church and believes in second chances. I do. And again, we're all better than the worst thing that we've ever done. So I hope that we continue to work on this. I'll be talking about the Office of Returning Citizens sometime soon. But again, and by the way, last thing, our Racial Reconciliation Committee is dealing with the issue also of returning citizens. And I know that we have the meeting coming up next week on affordable housing and everything, and that'll be an issue that committee takes on as well. Again, a really important issue. So I just wanted to thank you, ma'am, for your work on this. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Vieira. No, I agree with everything you said. You know, that's the issue that I have with the criminal justice system in the United States is, you know, people serve their sentence, they're released, and it's just endless roadblocks, it seems, to get readjusted and to get back into society. It's like, why punish people and talk about rehabilitation if it's basically a life sentence, essentially, because it's that stigma that they're going to carry with them. I've met people over the years that have been in prison. If they wouldn't have told me their story, I wouldn't have ever guessed. They're just good, productive people. I mean, one gentleman, I think he robbed a convenience store as a teenager, and he served about 12 years in prison. And he was released. He told me his story, and he said that when he was released, he tried to get a job, and people just laughed at him wherever he went. So he started his own cleaning business, and he's very successful. He got married, he raised a family, and he's never gotten in trouble again. So people make mistakes. People deserve second chances. You know, I consider myself a Christian. When I go to church, yes, I'm not perfect. Decisions I make aren't perfect, but when we talk about forgiveness, I think in this case, you know, we should apply it. I think in the United States we're ranked number 1, or we're top ranked in number of incarcerated citizens per capita. I have to verify that fact. But, I mean, that's just, what's the point of punishment in the name of rehabilitation when you're going to keep them punished forever? So I think this is a very good step. You know, Councilmember Vieira talked about, you know, an office for returning citizens, because people get out of jail, people get out of prison, and they're, here, go, you're free. You know, they may not have a family to go to, they may not have a support system. You know, they might need something basic like a driver's license, an ID, whatever it is. And then, of course, people that are willing to give them opportunities to help them readjust and get hired and whatnot. So I appreciate Councilmember Vieira bringing this up, and very supportive. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that you know, ideally, it can be very similar to what we do with housing, where we are our central location, but then we can connect with some of our excellent partners that do the work. So I applaud this idea. I think it's wonderful. While While we have gone, while we have done something, we still need to do more. We still need to always strive to get more people through the program, more people employed. Now we have this, economy where we should be able to find places for people to be employed. So I think that's probably our next goal. But I really appreciate the work that's been done, and we can see you now.
Yep. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
I wanted to especially give a shout out to one of my favorite groups in Tampa, A. Brown Ministries. I had the pleasure of seeing Reverend A. Brown preach when I was a kid. And, I'm meeting shortly, we have Robert Blunt, who is the late Reverend Brown's son-in-law, who's just a great guy. And I'll be meeting with Joe Probasco from the JCC and with Dee Jones, who's an attorney and a dear friend of mine who I love a lot. And they got a good group of people there. And I always say that if Jesus was on earth, he'd be volunteering at A. Brown Ministries. That's my opinion. So just wanted to give him a shout out.
All right, thank you very much. 57, 58, 59, we've moved those along. Item number 60, Mr. B-Day, the River Walk. And then we have 61, 2, and 3, and Councilmember Vieira's item. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning, Chair. Morning, Council. Happy New Year. Vic Bide, Director of Mobility, here to address item 60. This is a motion made by Councilman Vieira to provide an update on what we have done to secure additional funding to augment the $24 million build grant that the city received in support of the West River Walk project. Its formal name is much longer, and I can't remember it, but it's the West River Walk project. So strictly, as it relates to the update, I'll provide, the numbers and where we're at, all of that. The project, of course, hits upon just about every aspect of stated goals by both the council and the administration relative to safety, mobility, affordability, quality of life, and connectivity of Tampanians to jobs, not to mention the fact that we're building affordable housing where this facility is proposed and connecting to many others. So in addition to the $24 million build grant, we did, as I'd mentioned previously, request the West Tampa CRA for $10 million. We went through the process established by the CRA board, which is also this body, presented to the West Tampa CRA CAC. They did approve. They asked a lot of questions, a lot of good questions, and they did approve the $10 million funding at their level, 8 to 2 to 1. One person abstained because that board member did show up after the presentation, and so hence that vote. In addition to that, our government relations team has been working really hard, and in collaboration with Congresswoman Kathy Castor, who is always there to support us. They have put in for a $4 million earmark. So the Congresswoman's office has put in for a $4 million earmark through the federal budget for this year. And as we speak, Brandon Campbell, who oversees our transportation services, is working with our government relations to request another earmark through the state legislature this time. They'll be taking up session soon as well. So we're asking for $4 million. Not sure how much we will get, as I'm not privy to the process with the legislature, but I believe there is some significant variability depending on considerations. I would like to highlight a couple of other opportunities on top of that that leverage city funds, but also in the context of other opportunities. So the CST was passed earlier this year, and so that is a potential consideration. Of course, that's city funds ultimately. And then there is forthcoming information. We're awaiting details on the surtax dollars that were collected, and some portion of that will be allocated to the city of Tampa. It's not nearly enough relative to our population, but it's what it is. And what that will help is help us advance a whole bunch of projects that we have in the pipeline, potentially allowing us to leverage city funds there as well. Those are just opportunities, those aren't fund sources, I'd like to clarify. And at this time, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Councilmember Hurtak?
So basically, you're saying that with the surtax, because we already know what projects they're doing, and the city of Tampa is only getting 7 of those. And it's not very much money. I would say it's less.
21, 22 million.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very small amount of money compared to the amount that we're getting back as a county, which I believe is 150 million. So I think, well, I'm going to say that I wouldn't support trading that surtax money only because citizens have been very clear that they want more paving. So I don't think that moving the surtax or, trading the surtax money and putting it toward a Riverwalk project is the right thing to do. If we have to use it in mobility areas, it should be for that, or absolutely stormwater. Right now, we're about to talk in the next 3 items about stormwater, and I absolutely cannot imagine putting a penny of city dollars toward anything other than stormwater and rehabilitation until those needs are completely met. And I'm just speaking for myself, but I truly believe that I will have some agreement there. I think it's wonderful the work that you've done to try to get some of the earmarks. Do we have any idea of when you will hear on earmark issues?
I do not. That's a function of the budget process, both at the state and federal levels. And I don't think that question has a clear answer right now. But to the surtax monies, I'd like to clarify, it comes with very clear conditions that those monies can only be spent on the list of projects that was associated with it. So it's forthcoming more detail, but that's why I said it's an opportunity. That's not a fund source by any means. And CRA monies, of course, needless to say, can only be spent within the CRA for the vision that the CRA puts forth through their master plan.
Thank you. I had one more question. And it just escaped me, so I'll have to come back.
Councilmember Miranda Clendon.
Thank you. If I may ask about the funding, you have 24 million in grants already approved,
Correct.
and then you have 10 million from the CRA in West Tampa, which is about 3-point-some million a year for 3 years. Am I correct there?
That is correct. That's
Then
coming up for vote next
You've
week.
considered, you've in hand or certified that you can get 38 million out of the 50-plus million. And then you're looking for other 4 from the feds if possible, and another 4 somewhere else will give you 42 million.
Yeah.
So you have maybe, possibly, a 42 or 10 million short of the goal or something in that neighborhood. Am I correct?
If all goes well, yes. But the 8 million, the last 8 million, the federal and the state requests are still uncertain, to say the
And those
least.
monies, tell me how that works. And I'm all for transportation. I'm all for doing what we have to do to the roads. Everyone looks, I'm ashamed to say that our own government screwed the city of Tampa in distribution back on the rebate from the monies they collected for that period of time that was in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And we end up with what?
21.
21 million. Yep. It's a shame that that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. And they pound their chest on what they do for us, but they don't pound their chest to tell you the truth. That's just me talking to you, among the other people that are listening. So I'm not against anything or for anything, but these monies that are coming in up to now have nothing to do with paving.
Correct.
And they were never used for paving before, were they?
Not the surtax funds.
You
No,
have
this
a
is the
budget
first time
for
we're
paving
getting.
now, don't you?
Correct.
And the city has taken over the paving of streets, am I correct?
Partially. We've
degree.
increased our capacity.
Yeah,
Yes.
and getting more and more involved in it.
Correct.
So you've cut the cost of paving by a lot, I think,
Yes, we have. By 100% when we do in-house paving.
when you do in-house paving. And I know that money is already starting to be spent, because I've seen some roads being paved in different parts of the city.
That is correct.
And I see more and more scraping being done, so I assume that there's more paving coming, because if they're scraping a street, they're gonna
Yes.
pave the roads.
Yes, sir.
And I saw that just yesterday on Main through West Tampa, all the way across, when they were very well done, by the way. The lights were working. They stopped you for a few minutes until that part was done, and you went right through when it was finished. So whoever's doing it is doing a very good coercive job of making sure that it's timely and the roads keep opening and the traffic keeps moving. So I want to thank you and your staff for doing that. So there's a need here that's not forgotten. You see, people do things for crazy things, or we think they're crazy, but they're not crazy. They just given up. When you come from the hood, and this is where I come from, you have very little hope that you're going to get out. You have disparity. In this area that we're looking at, that is a medium to low income area, am I correct?
That is correct.
So if this was to happen, then the Riverwalk that's extended through up to West Tampa will have the feasibility of people who have very little to have a beautiful river walk to walk on, and all the way, if they want to go all the way, they can go to Ballast Point, which is quite a little distance. You have to be in excellent shape to walk that kind of miles. It's about 6 miles or 7 miles. So without that, they have no hope to do that. So if I was living there and I didn't have the funds to do a lot of things, but I had the river walk next to me, I could walk or stroll with my kids or whatever and enjoy the same things that other people are doing. People are coming to Tampa. This is something that is not involved in the funding. People come to Tampa, stay in a hotel, and they use that river walk on a daily basis. Tampa is no longer the Tampa that I lived in when I was a kid. For whatever reason, it's become more of a vacation area. To the aquarium, to Tampa, to Busch Gardens, to all the amenities that are in. Sports, sometimes included. I'm not going to leave them out. They're a small part, but they're included. So you have something that you can uplift life. There's no value. No one's here talked about what the value of that is. No one's talked. They talk about going to jail, but they don't talk about amenities that will keep you out of jail. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Clendenin Vieira.
Mr. Bede, could you give us an update of where we are in the planning and construction phases of the West Riverwalk?
Sure. So design has already commenced after the contract was approved by council last year. So design is currently underway. We expect construction to begin late this year. And that's just because of the design process. We have mostly secured the easements needed to construct the Riverwalk, with a couple of exceptions, specifically around UT. I think that item is coming up soon as well. But other than that, and then we're working with the developer related group that is on the southern portion of the project near Kennedy Bridge, and they're going to build the Riverwalk segments by the 2 towers that they're building in the area. So all told, the project is on schedule and on target. There are a few routine items as part of any project like this that we are working on. And so that's really the update on that.
So just to confirm, the amount, the right-of-ways with which council's already aware of the UT, which is going to come before council.
Right.
And then just that south of Kennedy section with the related group and potentially the WFLA building.
coming up.
Okay, just,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure. So all the rest of the right-of-way has been secured.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And I think Nina, who's our project manager, who's also here with Brandon, just texted me that we expect 60% design by the end of the month. So are we ahead of schedule?
Certain segments.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Councilmember Vieira.
Thank you. And in question, just, and I like to ask questions before, not to take up council time, et cetera, and I know we all like to do that in terms of asking questions before, but how much did design cost, if you know?
I don't, it's usually about 20 to 25%, if not more. Do you have a ballpark figure?
I don't have the breakdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Design build company.
Yeah, but it's design and inspection is probably going to be about 10 million, 10,
Yeah.
11 million. Those costs have gone up.
And we've already started that process, is what
Correct.
you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And question for you, how much, you may have said this already, what's the global budget of this? And then we got $24 million from the feds. What's the global budget?
So it's 52 million and 57 with contingency. So far, that's the information.
Okay, good, yeah. And again, for me, the big mover and shaker on this is the fact that we're gonna get so much of this from the federal government. I'm glad that Councilman Miranda mentioned the idea that it's West Tampa that we're helping out here. This is West Tampa. And I don't want any political narrative out there that this is gonna be something for rich people. Go to West Tampa, okay? And you're gonna see that is a working class, blue collar area, a whole bunch of folks there. And I think that's something that's very important to say as well. You know, I know there's going to be efforts, et cetera, to talk about diverting this money and putting it there. But the big thing is, number one, if we've already started on it and we've already put in millions of dollars potentially on this, that kind of makes that not an issue and everything. We are going to be talking about not necessarily stormwater, but helping people who have suffered from Hurricane Milton.
Yes.
I made a motion for this in early October after Milton. It didn't go anywhere. Now we're bringing it back. The administration is helping out of that. I appreciate that 110%. I know council's going to be supportive, but I don't see a connection between these two. And I want to be very clear. As somebody that now has like a part-time job, being out in North Tampa helping people, as their council member, there's no connectivity between these two. Because if we start to talk about the Riverwalk, I'm going to bring up the Strass Center, and I'm going to bring up the Tampa Museum of Art, and then the CRA, I'm going to go, hey guys, we spent $50 million on these two projects. $50 million on these two projects. And instead of making them 5 years, why don't we stretch it out to make it 8 years? And we'll save $4 or $5 million a year, and then we can cap the CRA, and then we can use that money for these projects, right? Is that a little bit fantastic to propose? Absolutely. Just as fantastic as what we're talking about right now, okay? So my point is, this is not the things that I've talked about, the Strass Center, the Museum of Art, $50 million, okay? $50 million we spent on those two projects. And again, projects have a lot of worth. I know there's a lot of good things there, et cetera. This is something that is for West Tampa that has at least $24 million coming from the federal government. There's a lot of distinctions there. There's a lot of distinctions there. So that's all. But it is important to see if we can get any additional dollars from the federal government on this. That's very important. And I will close by saying again that, Kathy Castor has been a member of Congress, I think, since 2007. She was elected in 2006. And to me, there's nobody that fights better for her hometown than Kathy Castor. And this is a good example of that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hurtak.
No, I think she's already spoken.
I didn't see your mic on, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Councilwoman Henderson, go ahead. I just looked over there, so.
Okay, I did turn it on late because I figured everyone else was done. Thank you, Mr. Vide, for your presentation. I think for me, I want to keep it simple and brief because I know that we're going to be, this is going to come up again. It's just West Tampa's turn, and it's about the decisions made by the leadership of the CAC. It was a vote of 8-2, as Joe Robinson said this morning. The leadership of that community doing what's right, looking at our Vision Zero and saying, you know what, this is what we want and this is where we're going. The funds that they voted to set aside, $10 million over 3 years, is very reasonable, especially when you look at, we can't go outside of other CRAs, kind of like, the Straz in downtown, where it was $50 million. I didn't understand it, a lot of money in the CRA in downtown. And so we did allocate that. And I had to get there with this. This is a little bit different with the Rome Yard development that's underway, where we, as a body, ensured affordable housing. So that alone lets you know that the benefits to this community is extremely diverse, market rate as well as affordable. And it extends into a community. And that is very important. We have a lot of different areas to cover as a city when it comes to our budget. And so this particular set aside and the work that we've done to get West Tampa here is an opportunity that benefits everyone. It is not a vanity project, it is infrastructure. And it has been well thought out, not just only by us in terms of our support, but by the community itself. West Tampa deserves a Riverwalk and that extension, not only for the sustainability and resilience, but health and safety and just so many other things to have a beautiful space. And it also just happens to benefit those who visit the Tampa Bay area as well. But this is a community-based infrastructure project that deserves to see completion and deserves our support. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Councilmember Hurtak.
When do we have to have the money settled before we start borrowing?
I would defer that question to Revenue and Finance, but my understanding is when the grant was approved by council, that also came with a presentation and agreement that that council is also approving or considering future debt proceeds towards it.
Yeah, and so if Mr. O'Hara happens to be listening and can hop on and explain that, I'd greatly appreciate it. He doesn't need to be in
Mike
chamber.
Perry
Oh,
is
Mike, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Mr. Perry. Because I mean, obviously this is already approved. We already approved the money for it. I'm just saying I think it's a poor use of money. I said it then, I'll say it now, I'll say it again and again and again, because of the amount of debt we have to go into to do this. I'd rather go into debt for actual projects, especially after Hurricane Milton. I think that this is going to be shown to not be a good way to spend the city's money, especially because as when we approved it, we were going to have to borrow, including interest, $52 million. And I think that's a poor use of city money. So if we get all of these things, if we get the $10 million from the CRA, great. Then we only have to bond and spend $32 million. That's still way too much money. If we happen to get these $8 million earmarks, that would be great. But we'll see. I kind of hesitate to believe the state will ever give the city anything, but we'll see. We'll see. But so I just want to know, at what point do we have to start borrowing money for this?
Good morning, Council. Mike Perry, Budget Officer. I think the last time we talked about it, and last January we did the debt presentation, we were talking about issuing bonds. A lot of things have happened, namely the CIT renewal was approved. Now we have $10 million coming from the CACs. We got potential state grant. So instead of going out there and issuing a bond where we would get the lump sum of money, we'd start paying the interest on that. We're going to do a line of credit initially. And what that means, just like the line of credit that you approved for solid waste, we only draw the money that we need, and that gives us the flexibility to say, okay, we got $4 million from the federal government. We can go ahead and reapply the federal funds to the project and not have to borrow the funds. We come back at the end of February for our bond capacity briefing, and we'll have a more thorough briefing about our process and our philosophy at that time. So hopefully that answers your question, Councilman.
Sort of, but I mean, the line of credit, how long is the line of credit for?
It'll be for about 5 years. They're generally
And
about
what do
5
we
years.
owe on that while we have the line of credit?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What is the interest on that?
It depends on the terms. Generally, like with the solid waste line of credit that you approved on December 19th, that was a variable rate, and the variable rate started out at 4.4%.
Okay.
So again, it's municipal bond rates tied to they used to do LIBOR. Now there's a new rate, and it's really complicated.
Yeah, but I find that this is not in the same conversation as the solid waste, because solid waste is an enterprise fund, and this is not. This is using general fund dollars. So So even opening a line of credit, I just want the public to understand that opening a line of credit doesn't mean that it's free until we, roll it into a bond. We're still paying extra money on that.
That is correct.
So I would love to know when this comes back next time, what that line of credit is, or rather what that interest rate is and how much we're going to be paying in that 5-year time. Because even if we're pulling out money as we need it, we still have debt. And it would be interesting because we have so many other needs. I don't see me at least, supporting using CIT dollars to do this. So I think that, we have fire stations that we desperately need. All that CIT money needs to go toward getting us up to date on that. But anyway, I'm beating a dead horse. Y'all have already approved it. I just think this is a bad use of money.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Bede.
Thank you.
Item number 61, 2, and 3, Ms. Feely is here. And then we will wrap it up with item number 29.
Can I have the Elmo on, please?
Yeah, you want to speak first? Okay, go ahead, sir.
Mike Perry, Budget Officer for number 61. I apologize, but Dennis is feeling under the weather, and he's asked me to fill in. Question is, what FEMA monies could the city utilize to help support those impacted by flooding? The FEMA money that the city receives under the Stafford Act is only for reimbursement of city expenses. And
So if we're being reimbursed for city expenses, that would free up a little bit of money that we can use towards.
no,
helping people that
again, those are
impacted.
expenses that we spend specifically for hurricane support. Give you an example, as you're very aware that we have 3 emergency response centers
Yeah,
that we activate during a storm. FEMA reimburses us for the overtime. And so the regular salaries is handled by the city. The overtime, we segregate out into a specific fund. Our FEMA fund is what we call it. We keep all the expenses there. And then that's where we bring the money on in. So they reimburse us only for what we spend. As we go through for the debris management that solid waste has done over the past 60 days, all those expenses are collected in that FEMA fund. When we receive the money, those funds go into the FEMA fund to reimburse us for those expenses.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Yes, thank you. So I was just going to say, yeah, we're taking from a savings fund to pay, and then they're just they're just refilling the savings fund. So no, we can't use money unless we were going to get out of our savings fund, and we can't do that for various reasons having to do with rate agencies and all of that fun.
Okay.
I didn't understand the last part of it.
No, it doesn't matter.
However, Abby will follow me up with what she's got. So if you have any questions on item number 61?
Councilman Vieira?
I'll go after 62.
Councilmember, no, Ms. Feely. There you go, Abby.
Morning, Council. Happy New Year. Abby Feely, Administrator, Development and Economic Opportunity. Item number 62 is in relation to funds that we have available to assist in hurricane individuals in hurricane that were impacted in the flooding of the wake of Hurricane Milton. So right now, we have some program income from our SHIP program. We have $3 million. I did provide a short written memo on this as well. We have $3 million in SHIP funds. That was program income that we are targeting to use for this. That program income has set-asides, 30% at 50% area median income and below, 30% at 80% area median and below, and the remaining 40% could assist anyone in either of those two groups or up to 140% AMI. In addition to that, the state sent out, they're going to do SHIP-DR. I know you guys love all the housing acronyms, but SHIP-DR is disaster relief, and that SHIP funds is coming in at $213,000. So that allocation is forthcoming. I know when we receive grant funds, we bring those to you and council must accept those funds. Lastly, there was a notification that came from Washington, D.C. on Tuesday that the federal government is issuing $12 billion in funds with $700 million going to Hillsborough County. So that information came in late Tuesday afternoon. We started talking to the county Wednesday. Today's only Thursday, as to, how this, you may remember when we got ARPA funds, we partnered with the county because somebody might call in and say, I live in Tampa. Well, they don't live in the city of Tampa. They live in Hillsborough County. And in order for us not to duplicate services and to ensure people are getting the help that they need, we put those funds with a third-party company. The ARPA funds went with Ernst & Young. We're currently talking to a company called ICF, which is a third party, that would serve as the clearinghouse for those funds. So we're not taking our current staff capacity and then starting new programs or shifting out those funds, and we're also allowing for it to be duplicative. When we first talked to the county about doing that for the $3 million, they were doing some different things with their SHIP money. So we're now, given the announcement from Tuesday, shifting gears, pivoting a little bit to see, okay, now what are we doing? The $700 million is going to be an allocation across City of Tampa, Plant City, Temple Terrace, and the county. So we're working to figure that out. So as I've spoken offline to Councilman Vieira, I just want to make sure, much like you all are aware with our RMAP program, we open up something, we don't want it to crash 5 minutes after it opening. We want to make sure we have all the mechanics related to the funds going out in a way that's engineered to assist the most people in the most efficient manner. So we're working on that. Any agreement for those funds to be distributed by a third party like ICF is going to come before council for approval. We are able, under the emergency order, to not have to go through a whole develop an RFP, put the RFP out, get bids, do this. We are able to streamline that portion of the process under the executive order, but the agreement will still come before this board for approval.
Councilmember Vieira.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chair, and thank you, Abby, for all of your work on this. We've talked a lot about this and worked a lot together on it, and I appreciate you and the administration for all your work on this. I came to you all about this, I don't know, 2 months ago, month and a half ago, whatever it was, and y'all have been wonderful. For me, post-Milton, and post-Helene, I mean, Milton obviously disproportionately affected my district, the North Tampa community. It's revolutionized the lives of people there in a terrible, terrible way with suffering, and the suffering is far from done. And my message is that this commitment is great, and we're going to continue to see a demand for more of it from the city, from the county, from the state, from the federal government, et cetera, because this is something that, if not addressed, could fundamentally, radically change the affordable and workforce housing hub of the city of Tampa in North Tampa. For me, there are three things that I've wanted since Milton. Number one is transparency in terms of why what happened out there happened. We've worked with our friends in the county commission, and the city's going to be monetarily supporting that for an independent review on the infrastructure, not just in the city of Tampa, in places like North Tampa, but also in places like Town and Country, in Plant City, and in different places that were Zone X. Number two is just to keep an eye in the public on the suffering of people. And again, I represent North Tampa, in North Tampa. It's very easy that if something doesn't happen to you to go, oh, well, that's finished, okay, because the media's not talking about it now. Well, it's still going on, and these people are isolated. They are hurting, and it's very, very difficult for them. But third is just dignity and help for these people. FEMA is certainly there to help. It's certainly there to help. But like I always tell people, if FEMA's going to buy you a suit, you need a suit. They're going to get you socks, shoes, belt, maybe a tie. You got to get the rest, okay? And that's nothing against FEMA. FEMA does what they do, and we're thankful for that. But other government partners have got to step in to help. I talk to, the stories of people out in the North Tampa area are so compelling. Just yesterday, I was out speaking to a woman of Dominican descent, worked 27 years, still works in our hotels, cleaning hotel rooms, lived in a house for 13 years, and she's lost so much, so much. I think of different people I know, a nice gentleman who's a Venezuelan refugee, who's a single father with an autistic daughter, lost everything in his house, everything for his family. He works as a contractor. So many different people who are every day the working class backbone of Tampa. One of them, and she gave me permission to speak about her. Some of folks may not know this. Everybody here knows Denise, who works in city council. Denise lives in Forest Hills. Denise lost everything. Denise had to move with her son and her daughter. Her son is in trade school now, to Brandon. And Denise is having to pay for her home in Forest Hills and her home in Brandon. Check up what she makes through the city of Tampa. It's a public record. News at 11, she can't afford it. She can't afford it. So Denise is one of the many people, and by the way, you know what she's gotten from FEMA? About 40% of what she's had to spend so far on her moving and assistance. And again, Denise has given me permission to do all this and to say all this, et cetera. So again, this is something that's so important because we want to help people stay in their homes. I think of my friend Gwen Torres. I met her at that community meeting that we had 4 days after Milton in Forest Hills. Gwen is a widow. Her husband had died about 1.5 years or so before Milton. Takes care of her family. She takes care of her son Christopher, who's 33 and has autism. She takes care of her grandson who has autism. She had a sensory room for her autistic grandson in her house, flooded. She had to sell her home. She's a worker at our public school system, works at Chamberlain. She had to sell her home in Forest Hills because she couldn't afford to pay for somewhere else and to pay her mortgage on her house. And she just moved out to Wesley Chapel. That's what I don't want to see. That's what we all here don't want to see, but that's what's going to happen in North Tampa, which is people are going to be leaving their homes. People are going to be selling their homes to economic vultures. And in one more minute, if I may, sir. Thank you. And what's going to be the long-term consequences of that? Higher housing costs, and in one of the few areas where teachers and welders and cops and firefighters and electricians and administrative assistants and people who work for city council can afford to live, the North Tampa area. So for me, again, Milton, and I say it 1,000 times, hit the backbone of Tampa's working class. And for me, this is step one of what we have to do to help people stay in their homes and to preserve affordable and workforce housing in the city of Tampa. Because if we leave this issue alone, you're going to see significant change in this area where the economic vultures come in and where higher costs on insurance and on different things for people in North Tampa come in, pricing the people who have lived there for generations. People like Officer Roy Paz, who we honored at the last Tampa City Council meeting. So again, Abby, I really, really thank you for this. Council, I'm sure that we'll get a 7-0 vote for this. This is just the right thing to do for good people who, again, the backbone of Tampa's working class. Thank you.
Councilmember Hurtad.
Thank you. The $700 million is news. That's really exciting. That's just really wonderful. And in 3 months, that's like warp speed for government. So I think that's really good. So my questions basically, though, are, do we have to wait for the county in order to get started with this? Or when are you bringing the agreement to us? And how fast can we get at least a hotline open to get people to, open, to get a case number I hope we don't have to wait for the county.
No, we're not going to wait for the county. We've been negotiating with ICF and preparing the agreement. Our goal right now is to have that on the January 23rd agenda. If not, it will be on the first agenda in February, but we are going back and forth on what some of those terms are right now on how that is going to be implemented. And then, as always, if the county wants to come back around and work with us or use that agreement in some way, or we modify that agreement with ICF or whatever it is, we can work that out too.
Awesome.
But we are moving forward.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear that. If you were to bring it on the 23rd, do we have an estimate for when we would have something live so people could reach out?
That's going to come through ICF, so I'm going to need to get that information.
Okay.
I'm hoping, by the first or second week of February would be, which is only maybe 2 weeks after we bring you the agreement, but we've got to get that executed and then get that set up.
Absolutely. So I think that's the thing that I would ask for when you bring the agreement back, because it should be spelled in the agreement, but just simply to make it very clear what that date will be and what that will look like. So again, we're sharing it with the public as clearly as possible so that they know this is coming. So I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right, item number 63, which is Ms. Bailey. Yes.
And if I may for that, I made a motion for this, if this is on the fees, there are no fees for these folks, right? So.
Correct. Immediately following, we suspended all permit fees. and that includes inspection fees for any work that's being permitted in relation to storm damage. So you come in and tell us it's a storm damage permit. We go ahead and look in our system because remember, we performed that analysis right after the storm with code enforcement and the building department's inspectors. So we know roughly, you know, where that is. We say, yep, we see you've got that. And then we're taking care of both then any substantial damage determinations at that time as part of the permit, but there are no fees. We want you to do the right thing, fix your house the right way, be safe, and we're here to help.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
And yeah, no, and again, I wanted to say again, because Ms. Feely, you've worked a lot on this, including during the Christmas holiday. And so I just wanted to just publicly say, I mean, when I voted for you, this is one of the reasons that I stated, you know, because I knew you were going to work hard on this. And again, just as a public servant, I just thank you for your work on this. Thank you.
Councilmember Moran.
Thank you very much. Along the same lines, the waiving of the fees, I've had a couple of individuals call the office, and they were a little confused themselves because they told me sometime in September there was a notice sent, anything under 2 feet of flooding in the house, they didn't need to get a permit.
That's correct.
All right. They told me they fixed that,
Okay.
and now they got a letter in the mail. They have to get,
They got the substantial determination letter?
I don't know what it is. The house been
Okay.
fixed, but now they're nervous because they say now they want me to get a certificate of to repair.
So a couple things, if I can just address that. So in terms of the substantial determination letter, those letters went out to 1,900 properties. Those letters went out based on the windshield surveys and inspections that were done immediately following the storm. I have seen examples where the letters have gone out and it's a new build and they had no damage. If that's the case, please let us know. Or if that's the case and it was minimal, please let us know so we close that out.
And this was close to where it was catastrophic, where it was
Okay.
4 feet of water, but that was on the riverside. They're a block in, and they got less than 2 feet. They fixed it.
They
and now
just
they get a
need to
letter.
let us know.
So
Yeah, just let us know.
Okay.
We have an email address focused completely on this called Flood Focus. And you can email Flood Focus at Tampa.gov.
flash focus.
Flood
Flood
Focus.
Got it.
We just also updated all of the FAQs that are on our hurricane page in relation to substantial damage, the form, if you got one, you really shouldn't have. If you
understand.
need to know what your 50% is, we provide you the link to the property appraiser so you can go in and put your address, it generates a letter. But we're available to help, just email that, and it may be the case.
Flood
The thing is that the last part to that is we will get data from FEMA showing us who received claims and who received, and then they're looking to us to ensure that there were permits. If they went in and said, my house was substantially damaged, I need $200,000, and they got it, FEMA's looking for you then to have the permit
Understand.
for that,
Check and
for that
balance.
work, yes.
Check and balance. Thank
And
you
that
very much.
all feeds into our participation in the NFIP, which right now gives our residents a 25% reduction in their flood insurance premiums. And with our new stormwater master plan, our rating is anticipated to go from a 5 to a 3, which will then give our residents a 35% reduction. So all of these pieces play a really critical part in us continuing to be a part of that and to reap those benefits, but to also build back in a resilient way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just-
Yes.
Can you just explain what that acronym means? NA?
Oh, National
I
Flood.
know, but just for the
National Flood
public.
Insurance Program.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Item
you.
number 29.
Can I have a 5-minute recess to read?
Yes, ma'am. We will recess and come back at 11:55, or do you
Yep,
want 12?
perfect.
11:55. We're in recess till 11:55.
muted. Unmuted.
Tampa City Council meeting to order. If we could have roll call, please.
Carlson, Hurtak, Clendenin, Henderson,
Present.
Vieira,
Here.
Miranda, Maniscalco.
Here.
We have physical quorum.
Councilmember Vieira, you asked to pull item 29.
Yes,
Did
thank
wanna
you
start the
very much.
discussion?
So, briefly on this, is Mr. Bede, okay, yes, sir, thank you. Just a couple quick questions on this.
Sure.
So I pulled this, given the obvious issues that have happened in Tampa over the last few months, and this thing kind of is a red flag, so to speak, and everything. And I even if there's no there, it's just good to, be transparent about things. But to be certain of this, sir, this report is for stormwater pumping stations, not wastewater, correct?
That is correct, and bridge operations as well.
Okay, good, that's it. Yep, so I guess if you want to explain it and then I'll.
Sure. Vic Bede, Director of Mobility. So this item was an audit that was requested by me of our audit director. So typically, the way the process works is Christine with the audit department, she's the director there, reaches out to different department directors, and they have a plan or a cycle for different divisions. And they say, here's what we are thinking about this year, but are there any specific business units that you would like to audit? And typically, we look at what are those business units that require attention, and we bring it up. So in 2022 or 21, we'd done an audit of the paving team at the time. In 22, we built the case for it. In 23, which was FY24, we got, thanks to council, the resources to build a second team. So this is kind of part of the same process. In 23, I asked Christine to take a look at bridge operations and our pumping station specifically. The rationale for that was we had one person retire that was an instrumentation specialist, which was skills. We had another person that replaced him. We were lucky enough to find someone, but that person did not stay with the city for long because these are higher dollar skills. This is instrumentation, it's not electrical, and so instrumentation is a little bit higher level skill. And wastewater has similar positions, AWT, instrumentation specialists, and all of that. Typically, because wastewater, water are slightly healthier enterprises, their pay rates for similar positions are higher. Their positions are higher. So those are the constraints we work with. And so we had filled that position. At the same time, that year, 23, what we did was we upclassed one of the people in bridge operations that is really good at electrical and instrumentation items as well. That was so he could support the pump station team. This was an interim plan to get this entire business unit to improve. So that was in FY 24, which is 2023, when the audit was requested, and that was done. Prior to that, FY 22, and this audit does mention that, we had implemented CityWorks, which is a work management system to better track these tasks and associate checklists and things like that with them. So that was referenced in the audit report as well. And so that's what happened then in FY24. As you know, we added the second paving team, which begins to address some of these stormwater pavement-related issues, not pump station, pavement-related, because there are 3 items here, 3 recommendations. One is for bridge operations, the second is for stormwater operations, and then the third is for pump stations specifically. So speaking to the pump station specifically, and what have we done, even before this audit came out, because the audit was initiated in July of last year, 2024, and it wrapped up in December 17, 2024. We had the storms in between. So since the storms, we have had an electronics and instrumentation contractor, ICON, that wastewater uses, and we have them as a piggyback contract as well. We have gone to all of the major pump stations. We've done a review of what upgrades are needed and things like that. These are instrumentation upgrades because some of these upgrades hadn't happened in a while. And that is the report that's going to come to you on January 30th for the motion that you had made, Councilman Vieira. And it will kind of show, what we can do. The gist is a whole bunch of instrumentation upgrades, better monitoring, so sensors for the water, but also for operators, the ice, the cameras, backup power, generators, and then updating some of the things like transfer switches and other instrumentation. We've also begun updating SOPs as required by this audit. Standard operating procedures. And while standard operating procedures are an important tool for continuity and all of that, they address the what. We're also working on the how. That's where the skills come in, and how much, which is where the resources come in. And that's what we're going to bring to you as well, and that will include generators.
And thank you for that. And so just to be clear, none of the challenges or what have you that may be noted in this audit, are any of them relevant to North Tampa or any of the pumps out there?
No.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
so yeah. I pulled this because I just wanted to make sure.
Sure.
It's important, and I mean, the path that I've gone since Milton for me has been a very careful one whenever it comes to finding answers and transparency, which is I want to make sure that as a good steward, as an elected official, I do my due diligence in having transparency. That for me is what the effort that the county has bought into is about with the independent contractor and the review. That's going to talk about an audit on what happened, et cetera, as well as what we have to do in the future.
Yes.
That's very big. But I also at the same time don't want to spread ideas or rumors or anything, because people are hurting right now.
Yeah.
People are going through hell right now in Forest Hills. You go to Forest Hills, you knock on doors, you knock on 10 doors, you're going to find 5 people going through hell right now. And I want to make sure that people don't go, oh my God, look at this report, Forest Hills, whatever. That's very important to me. And also, I think a mention was made, if I may, about a letter that the Forest Hills Neighborhood Association had sent. I know we've been working on that with you, and you've addressed a number of their issues, et cetera, and I think, and we actually, I actually have a community meeting out there tonight again. So we've been working on that together, et cetera. And I know Bev Keeney out there, God love her, has just been doing a great job of helping people. I mean, she's been drinking from a fire hose, drinking from 10 fire hoses, and it's very difficult. But again, I wanted to pull this, Mr. Bide, just for the purposes of transparency, just to make sure that, again, the people that I care, that we all care so much about who are hurting, I want to make sure that we get the right information out there. So thank you, sir.
Sure.
Councilmember Herta.
Thank you. The part that I'm confused about is Councilman Vieira says, is this relevant to the North Tampa? And I don't know how it's not relevant.
Well, it's related to the pump stations.
Oh, okay.
So
it's not specific to North Tampa.
Not specific to
Okay.
any one thing. This was to look at kind of the process around pump stations and instrumentation and what we need.
I wanted to make sure that was clarified because I don't want the people in North Tampa to think, oh, what does that mean? I just wanted folks to understand that this is a city-wide issue we looked at, and it does impact North Tampa. It's just not specifically North
It's
Tampa.
not specific, and the other thing I would add to it is that this was initiated in 2023, well before the storm. So it wasn't in response to or in reaction to, but we have taken measures even in response to,
So you are coming back, what is the exact date you're coming back? With more information about,
January 30th?
is it January 30th? You're
January
coming back
30th,
to
that's
talk
correct.
about what specifically?
Correct. So that will include, so the motion from Councilman Vieira was what kind of modernization and what kind of other measures do we need to take to make sure our stormwater system and pump stations are in better readiness for future storms. So what we're coming to you with, the gist is what is going to be needed, resources as well as the high-level scope to upgrade some of these pump stations. So one, I'd like to begin by saying the pump stations are operational right now. A lot of our issues were because of backup power, either it not being present, meaning generators not even being there, or when power went out, the generator's not coming on. So the immediate step we've taken right now, and this is just to reassure the public, is when we go out there to reduce stormwater pond levels to increase capacity, we will switch to generator power then. So we're not even going to wait for transfer switches or any potential failures. So that is our interim measure. While we work with the administration and this body to get the resources to update and add generators where we don't have, update all of the instrumentation, and this is all of the logic and the controllers that drive either the pumps themselves are in good shape, all of them, or the generators. And the generators were all tested before the storm as well. There's load testing done, so the generators were good. It was the transferring that was a challenge at one of the locations. And this will also include what else do we need to do to know what is happening during and before and after a storm. So a better control system, cameras, water level sensors that give us a better idea of what's going on and what other systems need to be on backup power beyond just the pumps themselves.
Great. So Additionally, what I would love for you to bring is how quickly we can get started on some of these. So if we were to open a line of credit on the 30th, how quickly could you get started? Secondly, Miss Kalina always talks about bringing that we have contracts for if this happens in a storm, then we definitely have folks we have a contract so that we can start doing debris cleanup. They belong to us. That's our, they come to us first because we have a contract. Is there a way that we could do a contractor for, or a contract for extra folks to bring in the pumps and to, because it sounds like it's above and beyond what our capacity would be. Is there a way that we could work with, I think you mentioned a contractor earlier, is there a way we could get a contract with them so that we have the extra hands we need when a storm starts so that folks have eyes on those?
We will certainly look at contracts. I know some of those contracts exist right now, like generators. What happened after Milton, which is a confluence of many events, was getting to the pump stations the first couple of days was the challenge. It wasn't the equipment itself, but yes, we can certainly look for
and I
contracts.
apologize. I'm not talking about the equipment. I'm talking about the personnel to come out before the storm. So I think a lot of what is in this letter has to do with, we didn't start lowering the water level soon enough. So is there a way that we could get those contractors to start earlier to do that work so that we aren't spread thin at all, so that we have more people than we need?
We will look at the resources we need, absolutely, but I'd like to clarify. The letter has certain statements. Some of them we did clarify after the letter. The letter is dated October 16th, right after the storm. We subsequently had a public meeting clarifying some of the elements within the letter. We also, to clarify additionally some of the claims made in the letter, put information up on the website, tampa.gov/hurricane, that actually shows SCADA plots. SCADA is the control system for a lot of these pump stations that show when stormwater pond levels were actually reduced. On some ponds, they're not reduced down to what we call till the fishes flop. Sometimes they're reduced by 2 or 3 feet for actual hydrologic reasons, or hydraulic reasons rather. But those did happen, and those plots show you that a day before the storm, the ponds were, levels came down. That's when we're saying when we go out there. So the resources were there. We went to the stormwater ponds. We went to the pump stations as well. But for an interim measure, we're going to take additional precautions this time around until we have all of it built out. The build-out timeline, and the reason I had my thumbs up earlier was because I had that conversation with our engineering team this morning, and I kept asking them the same thing, that council's going to ask us, how much will it take and how long before we can get it all in place? Not when we start design, not when we start construction. The best estimate I have is if we had the resources, and we'll have the clarity on that, but we're looking at $8 to $10 million, I believe. Please don't quote me on it. January 30th will be the final number. If we had it available now, it would take us 2 years from now to get the design, scoping, and instrumentation in place. That's what my team's telling me.
Okay, and I appreciate that. That's the long-term fix. I think we also would love to hear a short-term fix, and I would also love to have revenue and finance here to talk about, like, how do we sign on the dotted line on the 30th?
Sure, and I think that's part of Councilman Carlson's auxiliary motion to this, and that was, what are some of the short-term fixes? And we'll be happy to speak to it because some of them are underway as we speak in Palmacia Pines. So.
Well, I look forward to hearing all that, and I want to say thank you so much for indulging me the 5 minutes to read the letter again.
Councilmember
Just very quickly, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Vic, and your staff for the excellent report and what we're going to do and continue to make it better. Thank Councilmember Hurtak for her involvement in being specific. However, no matter what we do, if you rebuilt the homes that were damaged the same way they were, and you have the same thing happen, no matter how it works, you have a bigger storm. If that storm had come 20 miles north, we might not be here today.
Yeah.
So what am I saying? You fix everything to try to prevent it, but yet what you're trying to fix, you're not doing what it's going to destroy. That's the house, or the dwelling, or whatever you want to call it. So we continue to build the second floor with wood, with an eave 24 inches out, where the wind can pick up the roof, collapse the walls, and you have flooding from the outside and rainfall coming in from above. You have no chance of getting it through. That's why the insurance rates are so high. And I'm not an expert in zoning, or I'm building within the zone. But when you look at the little islands in the Caribbean, you look at Puerto Rico, you look at Dominican Republic, you look at Cuba, when a hurricane, and they have more experience in hurricanes than we do, the dwellings don't go. The ones on the outside, and the county, or whatever you want to call it, they call it campo, which is the land outside the city, they're the ones that get hit because they're built with tin and stuff that they don't have the money to build what they need. But the center of those cities survive because they're all concrete with rebarb in the wire, rebarb in the center, all across the roof, all across the walls. The second floor is the same thing, and the roof is concrete with rebarb at an angle where it drains out. If it floods, and some do, there's no drywall inside. So when it dries, you just paint it, and you're done with. It'll save the homeowner. Let's say that the cost is 10, 15, 20% more in the house to build. On your insurance premium alone, you can make that difference up.
Yep.
And we're not thinking of that. And that's the problem that I have with the process. It's got to come to somebody, come to us. I'm not a builder, I'm not a contractor, I don't know none of that stuff, to see how it's done. Because I think we have to change some of our style of living the way we do and go more to help nature, because all these are happening, the fires in California, the snow more than ever had before, all over the America of the United States, we're having more and more catastrophe every single day because we have abused what? The environment. And nobody's talking about helping the environment. And we must change, and we must lead in that direction. If not, I don't care how much we spend, I don't care how much we do, if the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, whatever it is, I think it's still the Gulf of Mexico, and I hope it stays that way. The storms might be, never have I seen 6 or 7 storms come out of the Gulf of Mexico. Never. Why? I don't know why, but it's got to be the environment. Warmer water. Last year alone, the Gulf of Mexico was 2.5 degrees warmer than the year before.
Yeah.
And that's like giving your car another 15, 20 miles faster. That's the problem we have, and we're not addressing it. But anyway, thank you for what you've done, and we appreciate everything, and see you on the 30th.
Thank you. And Councilman, I'd just like to add, you made a very valid point. The question of building materials is being discussed nationally right now in light of environmental challenges.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
Asphalt shingles, be it drywall, be it what we rate our structures for, not just the height and the foundation.
Thank you. You'll make me feel better now that I'm starting to look. I'm going to let my hair grow so I can look like Mr. Clendenin.
Very nice. All right.
It's about time you recognize
Well,
real
thank you very
beauty.
much.
Thank you.
Councilman Moreno, would you like to move item 29? It's your committee.
Yes, sir. I move 29.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moreno, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir. We'll see you on
Thank
the
you.
30th. All right, new business. Councilmember Miranda.
None, sir.
Councilman Vieira.
I got a couple, I wanted to make a public shout out. Do any of y'all know Linda Hall with Parks and Recs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Linda Hall, wonderful, wonderful lady. So, it was December 26th. Hanukkah started on December 25th, and I always try to have every year at the New Tampa Rec Center a nice Hanukkah event. And so, the 26th was, of course, the day after Christmas. So, Miss Hall went out there the day after Christmas, and she told me she was going to be out there working anyway. She wasn't going to be out there working. She told me that because she thought I would stop her from doing it. But she went out there to set up the Hanukkah event, and with a couple of other Parks and Recs employees, for like 2 hours to help support people at 33647 to have a nice Hanukkah event. So I just, I just wanted to give her a shout out for that. I think that's wonderful. Yeah, she's so nice. But a couple of quick motions, if I may. This is just for a written staff report. At K-Bar Ranch, if you recall, we had passed funds for design for the K-Bar Ranch Park. And there are going to be plans for community outreach. And so I want a written report for January 23rd on Parks and Recreation's plans for community outreach and meetings. It just,
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, and Mr. Shelby.
I'm sorry to interrupt, and I'm not quite sure, but I'm not sure about the deadline that it takes.
It's a written report.
Yeah, but the deadline's tomorrow to get it in.
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, thank you.
You're looking at February 6th?
It's February 6th.
Is it
Yeah,
February
that's
6th?
fine, February 6th.
All right, we have yeah.
And it's written, so.
Motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
And this is for February 6th written report. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Also, a written report on February 6th from Mobility on the status of repaving of North Boulevard.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And then I wanted to amend on February 6th, we have a report with TFR on a couple of issues, including Station 24. I wanted to amend my motion to make sure that Local 754 also had an opportunity to speak as well, along with TFR.
All right, we have a
Second.
motion. Do we have a second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And that's it. Thank you, Council.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing, sir.
All right. I have a couple of motions.
I recognize Chairman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much. I would like to make a motion to ratify and confirm the commendation presented to the family of the late Frank Reddick, former city council member, on January 3rd, 2025, for his funeral, which Councilmember Miranda and I attended.
We have a motion from Chairman Maniscalco and a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, next is I'd like to make a motion to present a commendation off-site to the Toba Foundation at their 45th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Leadership Breakfast on January 20th.
We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. Don't laugh at me. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And I'd like to wish my great aunt a happy 93rd birthday.
What's her name? What's her name?
Katerina.
Happy birthday, Katerina. Happy birthday.
That's enough.
That's it? That's it?
Yeah, she's my
Okay.
grandmother's sister who lives in Sicily, but she lives up here in Luke.
So she lives there, okay.
That's right. So that's it. Yes, sir.
I have one thing on the, I would like to make a motion to continue the workshop that's scheduled for January 30th for the streetcar, because I will not be here, to May 22nd.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second Councilmember Vieira, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else? And Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. I've spoken to staff regarding my motion made on December 19th, 2025. It is the staff to provide a written report with the number of current leases the city has for land and/or buildings, and for each, the monthly cost, length of lease, and the use of the leased building or land. I want to change my motion to clarify that the request is for leases in which the city is the tenant/leasee, and that the report will be presented to City Council on March 27th, 2025. Real estate staff requested additional time to gather the information from other departments and to review details of the leases.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak and a second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes. Councilmember Hurtak. Anything else?
Yes. Regarding agenda item number 59, the Land Development Code staff report by Ms. Feely. I've spoken to Ms. Feely, and she will provide a written update on January 23rd, 2025, and will be in person for the next Land Development Code update report on February 6th, 2025, which is already on the council calendar. It is that monthly report. And I know it says the 23rd. I know it has to be in by tomorrow, but she'll have it done.
Motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Anything else? No. Councilmember Clendenin again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to recognize that today was a special day for the United States with President Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
And his funeral being at the cathedral in Washington, D.C. And so much for what President Jimmy Carter and his post-presidency stood for, things that this council deals with every day on housing and humanitarian issues and keeping democracy alive. So you know, the precedent that President Carty set for public service, and then also the life that we lead outside of the official duties that we have, you know, so can be so consequential to our community, our state, and our nation, and the world, that I think we should just take a moment to recognize his contributions and be thankful that he walked among us.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Amen.
Cheers
Motion
to
received
Jimmy.
five.
So move.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda with the second from?
Viera.
Second from Councilman Viera, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
Well done.
I grew up here. I've been here since I was little. So it's like, this is literally a second home.
As we all know, it all starts in March, and Michael is a perfect example of why that is true.
Currently, I work here at Brush Works over the summer, and it's giving me a different outlook on how you can change a kid's life just by, being there.
The City of Tampa team is here to serve our community. That's why we exist. And it's everything from keeping our neighborhood safe through our amazing police and fire rescue departments to our parks and recreation to picking up the trash each and every day. Our city team has done a great job of making city services more accessible through things like opening it up, streamlining the permitting process, and making our parks accessible for everyone in our community. These next 4 years, we are going to focus keenly on our parks and recreation and arts and culture. Those things that really speak to the quality of life in a community.
Parks and Rec is definitely it's definitely always going to be supportive. Everybody knows everybody. A lot of my friends that went here are literally down the street from me, and we come here. It's like it's a heartbeat. It's a heartbeat. It's where everybody comes to.
Thanks a little bit. Hey guys, it's Tina, and today we are getting our hands a little dirty and we are fighting some crime. I am out here at an illegal dumping site with our code enforcement team. We're going to learn what the CST does to keep our neighborhoods clean. So when you find an illegal dump site like this, what do you do? What are the steps that you take?
First is investigating and seeing how we can hold people accountable that are dumping here on the side, because this is completely unacceptable. The next step that we take is getting it clean. We have special teams to assist with the cleanup. I've been doing this for about 6 years now, and I'm very passionate about it because if I can prevent someone from being hurt or wildlife being in danger, that means that we're making a difference. And every day that we step out here in the field, it's an impact on the community, and that's what we're here to do.
What's next?
I don't know. I've been looking at that for the longest.
So once we have everything in inventory, we put in a report that goes to the police department.
We absolutely do move in the police department. It is a felony offense, and also $450 fine, which is what the department will be issuing.
Officer Chris says, I need to thank you and your whole team on behalf of the whole city of Tampa, because what you've done here is a little gross, it's a little grimy, but some of you guys do it. And we thank you. We appreciate what you do.
I appreciate you coming out and getting your hands dirty, though, too.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. A little gross. I'd probably take a shower now, but yeah, it was an experience.
That's right.
Owning a home is truly life-changing. My first thought initially was, I'm never going to be able to afford a home. Prices and, at the time, my salary, I am so grateful to the city of Tampa for making this possible.
Housing affordability is critical to Tampa's success. As we grow, we have got to be able to provide housing that is affordable for our community. The Dare on the Dream program, where we provide down payments and mortgage assistance, has made such a difference in so many lives, just like Angela.
I always wanted to have somewhere that, they can, whether it's play in the front yard, in the backyard, throw football, baseball, and, I didn't think it was going to be possible.
We can't rely on city government alone. We're meeting with developers and other community organizations to ensure that there's a value of affordable and workforce housing, and also that they will work with us to provide those units. A great example of that is the Rome Yard. Over 900 units there, over 600 will be affordable. by city-owned lots to developers, and that way they can take the cost of the land off the price of the home. In the next 4 years, we have a very lofty goal of providing 10,000 affordable units, and we are already halfway there. I'm looking forward to celebrating more first Christmas in our home. So things like that, making memories, as us as a family in our home.
What's the craziest thing you've ever seen here? A wave runner. Another day, another opportunity to fight the crime. Have you ever wondered what happens to your trash? Well, today we are at the McKay Bay Waste Energy Plant learning how Tampa turns your waste into renewable energy. Let's go check it out. I know this is called waste energy plant, but what does that really mean? What really happens here?
So what we do is we bring in a residential foreign international waste that comes into the city of Tampa, and we turn it into energy.
On a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how gross and gray it is.
Monday morning, it's pretty bad. It's low. We're low down in the pits, so it's pretty grimy, nasty, stinky.
All right, well, I want to see firsthand how it works. So can we go inside?
Sure.
All right, let's do this.
We bring the trash in, we mix it, they'll go through it on the floor, we push it into the pit, we have train operators that will take and mix the trash up. What they try to do is make sure there's no big objects that we can't burn, we might plug the system up. The train operator gets it, he puts it into the hoppers, the hoppers feed it into the furnace, and then we burn it. Turn it into ash, and what don't burn is usually metals, concrete, stuff. That's what we recycle. What we can't recycle, then we turn it into energy.
So what kind of benefits did burning the trash bring to the city of Tampa?
We produce about 23 megawatts here that is used throughout the city. I like to call it renewable power. That's the best benefit for what we're doing here.
All right, Jeff, well, I appreciate you taking me around today and showing me everything. It's a little bit of a grimy job, but I guess someone's got to do it. So we appreciate you guys. You and the whole staff at the McKay Bay Waste Energy Plant. Can't wait to see you guys next time. This was fun. I'll be back.
All right, well, thank you a lot.
Hello, my name is Fred Ernst, Black History Curator at the Tampa Bay History Center. And I'm here at the corner of Columbus Drive and Central Avenue in Tampa Heights. At the former campground for the Buffalo Soldiers. The Buffalo Soldiers were here in the spring of 1898, along with thousands of white soldiers preparing to leave for Cuba to fight in the Spanish-American War. Once they arrived in Cuba, they served with distinction, winning the Soul Walk and all of the exciting sites and all of the information that would enlighten you about the African American presence in Tampa, go to tampa.gov/soulwalk.
Public hearing for the City of Tampa's Architectural Review Commission. Welcome, everyone. I'm Ted Johnson, Chair of the Commission. If you are here to present a project, you'll have limited time to make your presentation, so we suggest being thorough and concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, and wall sections. Staff will then present their report. We will then ask for public comment. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against the project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. Following public comment, the commissioners will ask questions in the same order as the presentation. Next, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. After the public hearing is closed, no further testimony can be given. The commissioners will then discuss the case and we will make our decision based on Chapter 27 of the City Code of Ordinances, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, Historic Preservation Development Review Committee comments, and the testimony given at the public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence cell phones. And we'll start on my left with the introductions of the commissioners.
Dan Myers, architect.
Hi, Carol Post. I'm the public health representative.
Brian Hammond, architect.
We also have Ron Vila from staff. We've got Alexis Guzman. We've got Dana Crosby Collier, attorney. And also we have John Marsh from the Transportation Department, Stephen Eister from Natural Resources, and Sam Thomas from the Zoning Department.
Good evening, Commissioner Ron Vila, staff for Historic Preservation. If we could get a motion for the reading of the minutes that were submitted December 2nd, 2024.
Second.
Okay, so we have a second motion to approve the minutes. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Motion passes.
Under announcements, we are going to have a Wednesday night meeting. We have 2 cases for Wednesday night. We already have 1 or 5 of the commissioners say that they could attend. Also, we have the staff approvals that we submitted into your packets. This is part of the ordinance that we have to submit this every month. And then we have our publication that we do monthly as well. This is the Tampa Bricks and Mortar. It's online if anybody wants to follow it. This month we focus on residential and retail new development in New York City, and that is going to be the preservation and progress segment that I'm about to do as well. So moving into that segment for preservation and progress. It's on the corner of Newsfield, 7th and 8th Avenue. As I say, this new construction is pretty large. Request that came forward and received approval. We have 2 structures that are currently there, and then on 7th Avenue, new construction, which is 4 stories, starts here and goes down Newsfield, and then this is 8th Avenue here, and then it continues to 8th Avenue and terminates on 15th Street. This is a 1929 Sanborn map that we like to show. Property in question is highlighted with a star here. You see some of the fabric that was around 1929. The red indicates brick construction. The yellow is frame construction. There is an alley that runs in between the subject site back in 1929. As part of that coming forward, the alley was vacated for the project, and it's an internal portion to the request that came forward. This was an existing structure. This was an existing structure along 7th Avenue. If you look at the fabric that we incorporated here, we look at the scale and the massing, and we look at the setbacks, we look at the fabric that is around there, and was telling us through the Sanborn map and the current land that's out there today to move forward. So as they came forward for new construction, it's a 4-story mixed use, as I stated, retail and residential. They asked for a couple of variances for the loading work, space reduction, and maneuvering in the right of way. There was no variance for height, and this one classification, this is YC1, parking is not required. So this project came forward with 0 parking associated with this request. This is a site plan. Once again, we have 7th Avenue, we have New Steel, we have what was an alley that was vacated, and 8th Avenue. On the main floor, we have retail, and then above that, you have residential. I'm just going to show the renderings that are here, and then we have some pictures to assist in this. This is the overall south elevation, which is 7th Avenue. You see the undulation of the building. The tops kind of vary to be distinctive, to break down the massing. You see some of the articulation on the building. You see some balconies that are scattered throughout the project. You see the lower storefronts for the retail, and then you see some articulation, some arch work and iron work as well. This is moving to the ceremonial front, which is on the corner of New Steel and 7th. This is the north elevation off 8th. And some pictures to help out to understand exactly what those renderings were telling you. You have the gateway that's on 7th Avenue. You have the new construction. As you zoom in a little bit here, this is that facade. As you break down the 7th Avenue facade, you see the incorporation of different elements to break down the massing. That's done with color, that's done with material, and then the articulation as well. And then you see the lower storefront here, how it changes. The variety of storefront is indicative of the storefront along 7th Avenue as well. This is on the corner of 7th and New Steel, and then as you turn the corner, you have the alley that's kind of picked up here in between the building and here in between the building. The alley was respected. The alley, although it's been vacated, is an open vista that you can see, and it's part of the pedestrian walkway as you get into the complex. In reviewing the project, we look at the city design guidelines, and we look at the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. The standards is pretty silent on new construction, but basically it talks about the scale and the massing and the setback should complement the environment that's there today. And just going to the Secretary of Interior standards again, what's recommended, it's a new design that is compatible with the historic character of the setting. So that we use those documents, the Secretary of Interior standards, will use the City design guidelines to assist the applicant to come forward to get an approval from the board, ultimately get a building permit, and now it's in operation. They have residential components that are being rented out now, and then they have some of the retail components on the main floor as well. So that's a huge project for you today. So moving down the agenda, we'll have legal address support.
Good evening, David Crosby, Collier with the City Attorney's Office. I need to inquire if any member has a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda this evening. Okay. And has any member engaged in an ex parte communication regarding any item on the agenda this evening? I have not. Thank you so much.
So a little housekeeping, we have to move forward on page 1 of your agenda. We have some continuations to take care of. We have 3 continuations that are going to go to the February 10th, 2025 cycle. We need one motion for all of those. And that starts with ARC 24-0000-273 for the address of 611 South Magnolia. The second continuation is ARC 24-0000-431 /REZ 24-000104. This is for the address of 402 South Oregon Avenue. And then the last continuation to February 10, 2025 is ARC 25-000048. All these continuations were requested by the agents to be continued to February 10, 2025. And if we can get a motion for that, please.
Move to continue ARC 24-00000273 at 611 South Magnolia, as well as ARC 24-0000-431 at 402 South Oregon Avenue, and ARC 25-000048 at 827 Bayshore Boulevard. Move to continue these to the February 10th, 2025 public hearing at 5:30 p.m.
We have a second to receive discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we have 2 continuations from tonight's public hearing to Wednesdays. When we get all these cases in, we try to balance them, and as it moves forward to public hearing, we have some continuations and some movements. So we try our best to balance them. So we need one more motion, please, for ARC 25-000050 for 407 South Delaware Avenue, and for ARC 25-000054 for 800 South Village Circle. That's Block F. Both of those are requested to be continued to the January 8th, 2025 public hearing at 5:30 p.m. Get a motion for that, please.
I move to continue ARC 25-000050 at 407 South Delaware Avenue, and ARC 25-000054 at 800 South Village Circle, Block F, to the Wednesday, January 8th, 2025 public hearing at 5:30 p.m.
All right, we have a second. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. All right,
We're ready for the swearing. Everybody that wishes to testify, please stand up and raise your right hand. Ms. Guzman swears in, including staff. Okay, our first agenda item is ARC 24-0000-336. This is for the address of 1703 West Chatham. This is in the Hyde Park Historic District. There is a contributing structure that dates back to 1916. That is a primary structure. The underlying zoning is RM24, and the request is for new construction and addition to the primary structure with site improvements. There's been some previous action. This case has been in front of this board as early as 9/9/2024, and for whatever reason has been continued. They re-noticed, and they are here today and can move forward. So moving down the photo presentation. Once again, I'd like to start with the Stormwater map. Property in question is highlighted in the green box. It's second in from an alley that runs north to south. This is on Chatham. This is on 1700 block of Chatham. There is an alley that runs east and west behind the subject site. If you look in 1929, you see some of the residential fabric. Then you have some larger structures that were multifamily. And you have some empty parcels here. I'm going to show you later on the development of the whole block houses today. But you have a linear sidewalk with a small retaining wall. This is looking at the front elevation and the west elevation. This is moving to the east side. This is the front and east elevation. If you notice, these pictures were taken in 8 of 2024. Since then, we had 2 hurricanes that came through and caused some damage to the site. So that appendage would have been over here somewhere. And if you notice, some of the trees have been removed as well as part of the storms coming through. I'm going to let the authorized agent address that.
This was that little nodule that received some damage
through the storm. This was in December of 2024, and then back in 8 of 24, the structure looked like this as well. When the storms came through, they had to remove it. They have some pictures to show you to assist in the project moving forward. This is from the back of the site, looking towards the pond. The abutting structure to the east, when the trees were damaged through the storm, that structure received some damage as well. This is looking at the structure on the west side, no damage to that. And to conclude with the alley that runs